Priest Lake got an injury crash. Murfreesboro Pike at Edgeo Lake Drive. And in Green Hills, police reporting a stalled vehicle on the left shoulder, 440 eastbound at the Granny White Pike overpass. Woodbine, TDOT reporting a crash, 440 eastbound near Nolensville Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, kids. Matt Murphy here. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased you've decided to join us. It's 6 minutes after 3 o'clock to be precise. Hope everybody's having a good Friday thus far. Everybody A-okay? Doing well? Nice day outside. Some rain showers out and about. We had a nasty, well, I say nasty. I don't know if it was nasty or not. I heard it from one of our production studios here about an hour, maybe 2 hours ago. One rolling through Middle Tennessee in the Music City. Hope there's rain falling on you if you want rain, and hope it's sunshiny if you want sunshine. We've got a busy show, 4 full hours, 615-737-9986. If you'd like to be a part of the show at any point, especially on these First Amendment Freestyle Fridays, 4 o'clock, we'll bring Fri-Jay to the program, so you can go ahead and get your legal questions in on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. 9986. We always lean on you telephone callers, and it's always a fun-filled hour on Fri-Jay. Always a fun Friday on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. It's episode 788 of our visits together, and they said it wouldn't last. It's day 81 of President Trump's term, his second term in office. Feels like 181 days, doesn't it? But it's not. It's just day 81. And once again, it's Friday. It's April 11. Join us on 99.7 FM. You're probably already there. You can also find us on the app. Download us and take us wherever you want to go. Plus Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, where you'll see beautiful faces like Ken Weaver's over in News Closet B. Ken Weaver.
How about you?
How's it going?
Going good. Going good, man.
You feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right. I'm ready to go home.
Well, don't let me forget to give you your pimento cheese.
Yeah, don't forget that.
I won't. You also
War
have
Eagle.
You also have pimento cheese.
Really?
You do. I was told to give you two fellas pimento cheese.
Can't wait.
And so it's been in the fridge. I reminded myself to take it out of my truck when I got here at 10:30 this morning.
Well, I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, well, I figured it'd be the best. Well, that's Chris Webber, everybody. What's going on with you?
Sexual chocolate, ladies and gentlemen.
Sexual chocolate.
See that? Oh, you can't see Ken's shirt.
I saw it earlier today. I saw it. That boy's good. That boy's good.
Good and terrible.
You ain't never met Dr. Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther the King. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Anybody talk about boxing, some white boy brings up Rocky Marciano. All right, the old so Jewish good. Guy. It's such a great show.
That's one of the funniest movies ever made.
What was the line? You delivered the line earlier. I couldn't remember it.
Y'all remember Mr. Randy Watson as Joe the policeman in the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mom.
The What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama. If you're not watching on Talk TV, you have no idea what we're talking about. And that's what you miss out on
Still
occasion.
makes it fun.
It's still, it's still a lot of fun. There's a particular shirt being worn by Ken Weaver today that we are all getting a kick out of. My favorite line from that movie,
Yes, sir.
It's a damn shame what they did to that dog.
There's so many in that movie, man.
Yep.
Those barbershop scenes
are so good.
Oh.
Kid, if you're going to work here,
yeah,
stay off the drugs.
Son, if you're going to work here,
that's right, son.
Going to have to stay off the drugs.
And Louis Anderson, I'm sorry, this is not the way to start the show, but Louis Anderson, and he's working, I'm working up to fries.
Next week.
Like he's got his master plan.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to take over the world one workstation at a time. Oh, my goodness gracious. So it's going to be one of those days, friends. We'll get into serious matters, content-related matters here in just a moment. Hope everybody's doing well. Is the weekend forecast out? I mean, are we all good?
Boy, it is out, fellas.
I think it's going to be beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Smooth sailing?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's good to hear.
Full
That's
on
good to
sunshine.
hear.
We're gonna be in the mid 70s by Monday.
That's good to hear. I like hearing that.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it could be a little bit cooler.
What? Stop that.
I know. I've learned those trigger words for Ken Weaver. It's only taken me like 3 months to learn the trigger words.
You better be careful. You're going to give him whiplash.
Right, like
his head just, whoop.
Cooler conditions. Those are trigger words. Just say I-24, and he might squirt a little. You never
visceral
know.
reaction.
Yeah, I think about couches and whatnot. But it sounds like it's going to be a beautiful weekend, and that's wonderful. And we'll try to make your Friday as special as humanly possible as well. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. Once again, that's the easiest way to do that. I want to start with Covenant update because I've gotten a little bit of reaction over the show that we did earlier in the week. I want to make sure that folks understand specifically where I'm coming from. And I can't speak for anyone else, but I want to make sure that everyone understands where I'm coming from with my frustration regarding the FBI generally and Kash Patel specifically and what happened earlier this week. As you may or may not know, the Tennessee Star and its editor-in-chief, Michael Patrick Leahy, have sued the Department of Justice, and that lawsuit is ongoing. Star News Digital Media, specifically, which owns and operates the Tennessee Star, and editor-in-chief Michael Patrick Leahy, sued the FBI in May of 2023 to compel the agency to release the writings of Audrey Hale, the Covenant School shooter. Audrey Hale, as we all know, in March of that year, entered the Covenant School and slaughtered 6 innocent people, including 3 9-year-old children. In an effort to find out, potentially at least, the motivations behind this vicious slaying in our community, many of us endeavored to get to the bottom of potential motivation. We all know now that Audrey Hale was or considered herself to be transgender, and apparently there's much about this in the incredible amount of writings that she engaged in over the years. Over 1,200 pages of writings over the course of many, many years. I would not refer to these as a manifesto in as much as I do not believe that they are, but these are journal entries of a clearly mentally deranged person. We have seen, and by we, I mean you and me, and primarily, and these were released by Leahy, and I think Brian Wilson, who is still with Supertalk 99.7 WTN. He's retired on a full-time basis, but he's still with us. Brian Wilson, when he was hosting full-time on The Drive, he received some of this information as well, and he made the audience aware of some of the information that he had received in his format, audio format, and Michael Patrick Leahy published some of this information that he received on his platform, the Tennessee Star. But we have not seen the rest of it. There are some, and I understand that there are some that would say, toward what end are we angling for this information? And frankly, I would put myself in that camp. I can simultaneously believe that we will not learn any new information in these 1,200 pages and at the same time believe that the American people have every right in the world and every right under our Constitution to see them. Does that make sense to everyone? That I do not believe that we will be able to make sense of what is by definition senseless. I have seen enough to confirm in me that I do not believe that Audrey Hale was crazy because she was transgender. I think she believed she was transgender because she was crazy. You want me to say that again? So those of you in Aniana will get it. I do not believe, this is my one man's opinion, I do not believe that Audrey Hale was crazy because she was transgender. I believe that she thought she was transgender because she was crazy. And the type of mental instability that she was under manifested itself in a tremendous amount of anger and anxiety and somewhat of a lashing out toward the world, which eventually focused itself on this concept of a mass killing. While I do not believe that anything within these writings will lead us to a definitive understanding as to why something so evil and senseless happened, I do believe the American people have every right under the sun to see this information. Unfiltered by government and unfiltered by third parties. Redact that which would out innocent people. Redact these things that would potentially out installations or facilities in terms of how they do their business. In other words, I don't need to see internal drawings of the Covenant School. I don't need to see specifics about where Hale had planned to attack prior to the Covenant School. And it's my understanding she had a number of targets prior to going to the Covenant School. You can redact those things, but that which will not put anyone in the public in a direct harm's way ought to be made available to us. That is how our government works. Our government doesn't operate in secrecy, nor should it, ever. And only with a compelling reason should information be withheld from the general public. And the Trump administration came in for a lot of reasons in November of last year. And one of the reasons was that we believed that the deep state had so rigidly constructed some of our institutions so as to prevent the American people from discovering some of this information, whether it be the Covenant School, quote-unquote, manifesto, or the JFK files, or the Epstein files, or whatever it might be. We generally believe, those of us who lean toward liberty and lean toward freedom, we generally believe that the public should have a right to know unless the government or whatever institution we might be talking about through government makes a compelling and open argument as to why we shouldn't. And it's not just enough. It's not enough to say sources and methods. Not for me. That's not enough. That is a crutch that needs to, we need to sweep that leg. So what the Trump administration did, what Kash Patel did, is over the weekend or into the weekend last weekend, they released the writings of Audrey Hale, unbeknownst to anyone in our local community and unbeknownst to obviously the parties to the lawsuit. They released this information to Megyn Kelly. Now, I had a lot to say about this at the time that it happened, and some of that has been misconstrued, which is partially why I bring it up again. I have nothing against Megyn Kelly. I don't really have anything against Kash Patel, except I'm a little confused as to how he believes this is openness and transparency. I don't begrudge Megyn Kelly getting her eyeballs on this information. I want all Americans to have access to the information, should it not put the health and safety of others at risk. My problem is that the FBI under Kash Patel seem to think that this kind of closes the book on the whole thing. Oh, we let one hand-picked reporter see the information, and that should do it for everyone. Well, no, that doesn't do it for everyone. Doesn't do it for me. Why should it? While I trust Megyn Kelly till the cows come home, that's not the point. The point is the American people should not have to have this information filtered through any third party. And the government should not pick winners and losers when it comes to openly available information that ought to be made available to you, the general public. And sure as hell, I mean, and once again, some have suggested that I got it stuck in my craw because of Leahy. Michael Patrick Leahy, I know him. He's a friend. I think he's a good reporter. And yeah, I mean, I've not talked to him about this, but does it bother me that he's worked for 2 years to get this information to a public that he serves locally and that he has invested his time, energy, and money in court trying to get this information available to the people who were impacted most by it, the local community, the community of Middle Tennessee, only to have the door slammed in his face at every turn? And then finally, when the Trump administration comes in, we feel like, well, maybe we'll get some relief here. Instead, it's a national podcast host that gets the information. Once again, not against her getting the information as long as it's made public to everyone. I feel as if this were happening under the Biden administration, I mean, what would your reaction be? Because I understand that there's a predisposition to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, and by extension, to give Kash Patel the benefit of the doubt. And I understand that, and I want to do it too. I want to give Kash Patel and Bongino and anybody else involved in this situation, I want to try to give them a broad enough space to operate so early on in Trump's second term. It's only been 81 days. But it becomes increasingly difficult when it feels as if the Department of Justice has kind of closed the door on the whole thing. Oh, we released it to Megyn Kelly, so that's done with that. I mean, they did the same thing with these Epstein files. Oh, they made a big announcement on the front end. And now, once again, this is not against Donald Trump himself. It is not to suggest that the entirety of the administration is somehow corrupted. It is to point out that there are aspects of this that are bothersome still, and we, the people, ought to raise red flags over this regardless of who's in the White House, because we damn sure would be doing it if it was Joe Biden. I mean, Biden does this? What happens when the Biden administration leaks it? What happens when the Biden administration hands the Covenant School manifesto to 60 Minutes, to Scott Pelley? We'd be raising holy hell, and rightly so. Well, how is it different than this? On Tuesday, the U.S. Department of Justice told the Tennessee Star that it had, quote, no knowledge of the FBI's decision to release the materials to anyone, including Megyn Kelly. So there's where we are on that. I am a little surprised that more people aren't upset about it. But it feels like a pass is given because of the current administration. Well, I don't think that's being a watchdog for the American people. I think we can trust that these things will work themselves out, and at the same time hold individuals' feet to the fire, especially people who were so bound and determined to see transparency when they were on the other side of the fence. People like the deputy director of the FBI was very, very vocal about maximum and extreme. You tell me, Dan Bongino was very vocal about maximum transparency and not trusting these people. Verify the truth. And now they're telling us to trust them. Just trust us. Well, I thought you told us not to do that. Which is it? I know what it is. It's 24 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN Friday edition. Just getting underway. I know I have to do Tennessee Men's Clinic, but I just glanced over to the Super Text line, and all I saw is I-24 is nonsense. They need to blow it up. All right. Well, we'll talk about that here in a minute with Ken Weaver. Right now, I want to talk about Tennessee Men's Clinic. Not nonsense here. Real information and real important stuff, folks. The Tennessee Men's Clinic understands a couple of things about men's health. One, that about half the men listening to me right now at some point or another will experience testosterone loss over the course of their lives to the point that they've noticed it, whether it's an energy level loss or perhaps it is intimacy or bedroom activity. If this is you and you've noticed a loss in a desire or an ability, I want you to call the Tennessee Men's Clinic because there are solutions available for you men, and they are available right now. No waiting. You'll meet with a qualified urologist after you set up that appointment. And after you meet with that urologist, they'll take a little blood and they'll go over you with their appointment, and they'll figure out what's going on in your life. And then they will talk to you about a prescription of success that works for you and your family and get you back right again. Let's put this behind us, men. Let's get to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. You can start the journey by making a call at 615-208-9090. Either location, that number will reach either the one in Franklin and Cool Springs or the original in Midtown. Or go online to find out more information at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Another legal victory for the Trump administration. This story and more at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, indeed. Ken Weaver back in the newsroom, News Closet B, we call it. Chris Weber behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of your speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. And me, my name is Matt Murphy, and I thank you for being a part of our afternoon this afternoon. Whatever time you're able to give us, we are appreciative of that time. 615, you can also give us a call, 615-737-9986. Phone lines wide available on a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. You can super text to the program, as many of you have already done, recognizing Todd writes in and says, I agree, Kash Patel probably has his reasons, but they need to make it clear if they're good reasons. Otherwise, they need to release all they claimed to release. 5174 says, Matt, I hear what you're saying, but after 8 years of Obama and 4 years of Joe Biden, I'll give Trump and his people a lot of leeway. There's a lot they're working on. I just want to know what the rationale is. What is the rationale releasing it to one high-profile podcaster that Patel or Bongino might be friendly with and not releasing it to the local community that was most impacted or the local business, or I guess technically the Tennessee Star is not local, but the business that has been suing the Department of Justice for this information for the last 2 years? I don't understand. I don't even understand the rational argument, much less do I understand their justification. Maybe somebody can tell me. 31 after the hour. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got some scattered showers out there. Some of it's heavy, but I don't see anything stormy or severe. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Another legal victory for the Trump administration. Immigration Judge Jamie Coleman's ruling today that Columbia University activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported from the U.S. The judge has given Khalil's lawyers a deadline of April 23rd to file applications for relief to stop his deportation. Trump administration says it's in the best interest of national security, claiming Khalil's organization of anti-Israel protests over the war in Gaza led to harassment of Jewish students. Stephen Portnoy has the latest from today's hearing in the case of the Maryland man, which the government wrongly deported to El Salvador.
At a hearing that lasted nearly half an hour, federal judge Paula Sinise repeatedly asked a Justice Department attorney what she called basic questions. Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and what has the government been doing to get him back? DOJ lawyer Drew Ensign said he couldn't answer those questions. In response, Judge Sinise said she'd require updates in writing each day on the government's efforts to track Abrego Garcia and to facilitate his return, saying the Supreme Court has now spoken quite clearly about the need for both.
Friday, White House press briefing. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about a deal with China over tariffs.
Why is he optimistic that China's going to make a deal or wants to make a deal if they're not talking? Where's that optimism come from?
He's optimistic.
Yeah, U.S. and Iranian officials set to meet tomorrow for high-level talks on a nuclear deal.
All options are on the table, and Iran has a choice to make. You can agree to President Trump's demand, or there will be all hell to pay.
And Leavitt was asked about President Trump's feelings as U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff meets with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Russia, discussing an end to the war in Ukraine.
He wants the war to end. We believe we have leverage in negotiating a deal, to a peace deal, and we're going to use that leverage, and the president is determined to see this through.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Nashville Village got an accident reported by police. Murfreesboro Pike at Bell Road, then Murfreesboro Pike at Edge of Lake Drive. I-440 eastbound near Nolensville Pike. TDOT reporting a crash there. And then police say there is a stalled vehicle on the left shoulder, 440 eastbound at the Granny White Pike overpass in Green Hills. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
If you're out and about over the weekend and we hear that it's going to be gorgeous weather, make your way down to Franklin, Tennessee. Just off the square there's a wonderful store that I love talking about called Savory Spice. I love all things about this shop. One, the smells. I mean, it just absolutely smells delicious. Whether you walk past the vanilla and you smell that, or the lemon zest and you smell that, or the cinnamon and you smell that, or the taco and you smell that. I mean, you get different whiffs of the different smells. You can even, at Savory Spice, they have the samplers where you can even just dump some out in your hand. You can take a lick if you want to, or just sniff on it and just toss it around on the floor when you're done, and they'll sweep it up later. Don't worry about that. Yes, they are knowledgeable as the day is long. Yes, the real chefs, the real deal cooks in our area already know about Savory Spice, and it's time that you did as well. Get to Savory Spice for all of your spice needs, whether it's a restock or a specialty item. They have it for you. Plus, great gift-giving ideas as well at Savory Spice. Savory Spice, right off the square in Franklin. Tell Holly, David, or the rest of the crew that Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only You Up Your Food Game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you on a Friday edition, 38 minutes after the hour. What is going on? Stocks ended the day a little bit higher, huh? About 619 points up. That takes care of some of that downslide yesterday. I don't know what, I don't know what they were for the week. I mean, I guess I could look it up. I don't think you want to know. I think it's probably overall down, but one way or the other. Obviously, the markets are going to respond a little bit negatively to disruption and to uncertainty. And there is disruption and uncertainty in as much as Donald Trump has finally decided that somebody in the world needs to take on the evil Chinese. The Chinese do not operate. In fact, I think it might merit a relook at what Kevin O'Leary said the other day. Tariff them at 400%. Why? Because they don't play fair. They don't play honestly. And it's about time that someone took this on. So we got that going on today as we watch the markets close. You on the telephone, 615-737-9986. I open up the telephones always. They're constantly open because I love having that line of communication with you. Nobody on the phones right now. If you have any thought. Look, I understand that it's uncomfortable for you to say something that might be considered a little bit critical of the Trump administration, and I understand that we want to give the Trump administration as much grace as possible. I'm just not very not very satisfied so far with the quote-unquote transparency, lack thereof, that we're seeing on the part of the FBI. I am on record believing that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, by its nature, attempts to act extracurricular to the Constitution of the United States. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, by its nature, wants to take the easiest path available to gather information against you in order to stop wrongdoing. That is not to say that these are bad people doing this. There are many great people within the department, within the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I know many of them. I know, well, not many of them. I know some of them. I know field agents. I know others that are dedicated to the task of catching the bad guys and protecting the good guys. I am not casting aspersions at those people, but I am suggesting to you that for far too long, the organization has gotten away with doing things on the fast and loose and doing things in a secretive way that are not consistent with the concept of open government. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover, for decades, ran the organization with an iron fist and considered himself to be above the President of the United States. We have to remember where these game rules came from. So that's what I'll say about that. I cannot get a justifiable argument as to why in the world one individual would be allowed to see these documents and others would not be allowed to see these documents. Either they are going to the dissemination of these documents will either disrupt an investigation or they won't. And the idea that you know what it feels like? It feels like it's pandering. It feels like it's placating, right? Hey, these folks that want transparency, we'll get them to shut up like this. And once again, I don't put the fault at the feet of the president, but I would put the fault at the feet of the attorney general and the head of the FBI, in as much as we saw this a few weeks ago with the Epstein stuff, where we were promised that we would. I don't know what the Epstein stuff is. I don't know what it would contain. I don't think that there's some magic bullet. I don't believe that there's a smoking gun in the Epstein files. But I would expect that you would release it to us. After all, Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is, she's in prison. Epstein is dead. Didn't kill himself. So what is the damage in releasing as much of this information as possible, or at least a status update? At least telling us why it's not been released. Katie is first up on this Friday edition in Fairview. Katie, thank you for your call. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
There's an inconsistency I've been wondering about for a long time. If everybody in Congress has to take a pledge on the Bible that they will support the Constitution of the United States, why, when they vote explicitly against something that contradicts what's in our Constitution, why are they still in office? Why are they still in Congress? I mean, what's the point of taking a pledge and a vow to support the Constitution when you absolutely do not? Why are they still in where they are? I mean, I think something's wrong with this.
What is there anything that specifically comes to your mind that you're referencing?
No, not really. I mean, no, I've just noticed it so many times. Well, the open border deal. I mean, come on. The open border was against the Constitution. Duh. Why are all these people just letting all this kind of stuff slip away and nobody stands up for the Constitution?
Well, here's what they do, and I think I can have an answer for you, but I don't think you're going to like it, Katie. Okay. I mean, so I'm just warning you that you're probably not going to like this. But here's what they do, right? Let's use Joe Biden as an example. You know, he put his hand on the Bible and swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and then he just swung the border wide open. Here's what they do. When they are brought before Congress through impeachment, for example, or brought before the courts with some sort of judicial review of their policies, they look at the judges or they look at the members of Congress and they look at you, Katie, and they look at me and they say, we're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can.
Well, that's not good enough.
Well, and so we're left with saying it's not good enough, or we're left with saying, well, you're not doing what you should be doing. And they say, well, we're doing the best we can. Now, we know that that's not true. They know that that's not true, but that's how they sneak through. The real remedy that you're looking for, though, Katie, is not removal from office. The real remedy is to vote them out of office.
Well, I do. Well, I mean, I can't vote for everybody running for Congress, but I do vote. I've never missed a vote. But yet, I mean, I just see the country just, and thank God for Trump. I mean, I hate to think what would happen if he hadn't won.
Well, I agree with that.
I mean, all the stuff, I just don't understand how Congress can get away with having people voting, having power over the rest of us when they obviously vote against what our Constitution stands for. There should be some kind of...
We're thankful. I mean, the Constitution also offers remedy for that in as much as because there is room for interpretation. The Constitution is kind of a skeletal structure, right? And that which it does not touch is left to the states or the people respectively. That's the 10th Amendment. So there is a room for interpretation about what the Constitution does or does not say about some of these things that Congress passes. And so specifically to your point, what some of these folks would argue is that they are not, in fact, voting for things that are unconstitutional. That's what they would argue.
Whoa. Well.
You and I clearly see it differently. Well, in that dispute, the remedy, in my opinion, removal as a remedy should only, I mean, in order to do that, you are truly going against, and I want to kind of dig down on this, Katie, because you're going against the will of that district. As ignorant as that, let's say it's a district out in California. We want to remove a California. So somebody voted those representatives into office. So we should take very, very seriously the idea of removing them from office against the will of their congressional district.
Well, I'm about ready to say, you take a pledge to support this country, or we send you to some other country that you want to go to.
Well, I mean, I would say I'd send a lot of people to the island. I talk about sending people to the island. I don't know that I would kill people myself, but I'll send them to a deserted island. Just let them leave them there.
I don't want to kill anybody.
No. That's what I'm saying. Let's send them to the island.
Okay.
All right. Well, Katie, I understand.
Thanks for taking my call.
Well, of course. And I appreciate Katie's frustration. And it's maybe not the answer that she wants. But, look, if some liberals were in charge and they started running around talking about removing Mark Green from Congress because he's voting against the Constitution based on their interpretation, or want to remove, Scott Desjardins or Tim Burchett or John Rose or Andy Ogles, well, he wouldn't be so bad. Anyway, so if they began talking along those lines, well, we would take exception with that, because no matter what you think about these lawmakers, they were duly elected by the individual districts. The more powerful way to go about this and the more difficult lift is to educate those individual districts to the point that they stop voting stupidly for people that don't really have any high regard for the Constitution of the United States of America. That's what my suggestion would be. And removal from office should be reserved for those high crimes and misdemeanors that the Constitution talks about. I hope that makes sense to you, Katie, and thank you for calling. Hope you have a good weekend. James is next up in Spring Hill. Hey, James.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm great, brother.
Hey, wanted to pick your brain real quick. So on these tariffs that Trump is putting in, I know he plays the long game, but has he thought you think about the fact that if China were to call in our debt, since they do own a lot of our debt, they could call it in at any time and we can't pay that tab? And I'm going to hang up and listen.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll look it up because the Chinese debt thing that's a matter of holding treasury bonds, and it's a much smaller amount than you would think, and it's not as easy as just calling in the debt. I'm gonna look up the amount. I'm not punting, but I don't want to get this wrong either. So I'm going to look up the amount. We'll take a short time out. Chad, you'll be next up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Graceoint Healthcare is affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine for you and your entire family, and I'm here to tell you all about it. Graceoint treats the entire body with a comprehensive medical approach. They truly do try to get to the root of the problem as opposed to treating the symptoms of the problem, and sadly, you see that far too much in modern medicine. You see, we'll give you a pill for that symptom or something for that symptom instead of trying to figure out, why are these symptoms presenting themselves? Graceoint Healthcare takes the time and the energy to do just that. I've mentioned in the past they're a direct pay format. It's so important for you to understand why that's superior for you because you get in more quickly, you don't have to wait through long wait times, and you know exactly what the cost of your service is going to be at Graceoint Healthcare. Plus, they have many great options like the basic Smart Care plan, $69 a month, and you have unlimited office visits at Graceoint. Graceoint Healthcare, located in the heart of Franklin. Give them a call today at 599-6868. That's 599-6868. Schedule your next appointment today. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Graceoint Healthcare. Graceoint Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
An immigration judge has ruled Colombia activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported. This story and more at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dadgummit, you try to beat Weaver to the breaking news, and look at him.
You got to get up pretty early in the morning.
That's the truth.
At least by 10 o'clock.
10, see, I'm not going to beat you then, Weaver. 10:30, 10:45. I'm just rolling over for my next nap. It is 57 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's Ken Weaver back in the newsroom. He'll deliver this full-throated headline, but I'll give you the rundown. U.S. immigration judge has ruled that President Donald Trump's administration can proceed with the deportation case against Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil, who was arrested in New York City last month. The ruling made by Judge Jamie Comins of the LaSalle Immigration Court, located inside of a jail complex for immigrants. Khalil, obviously he was a rabble-rouser in New York. You do not have the same constitutional rights if you are in as a guest this country. If you're in this country as a guest, you do not hold the same rights as a U.S. citizen. And Khalil violated the basic premise of his ability to be in the United States of America by acting in a fashion that was harmful to the United States, harming U.S. foreign policy interest. And as a result, he will be removed. And there's that. All right, real quick. China holds, I looked up the figure. As of the most recent data that I could find, China holds $768.6 billion of U.S. debt. This represents 8.9% of the total national debt, less than 10%. You might think that China holds the most. They don't. Anybody want to guess who does? Anybody? Want to take a wag, Weber?
The UK. I don't know.
That's a great guess. Japan. Japan. Japan is the largest foreign holder with they're holding $1.1 trillion worth of debt. But here's the most important part of the call. China can't call in our debt. That's not the way that this works. It's not like they just let us borrow money. What they did was they hold U.S. Treasury securities or bonds. And those bonds mature at different times, and they become due and payable at different times down the road in the future. And oftentimes these bonds are rolled over. It's why interest rate hikes can massively affect the amount of interest that we have to pay on the debt, and it can have a significant impact on our budgets. Because if you hike the interest rate, then those bonds roll over, and they roll over at a higher interest rate. So there's no call-in power. They don't have a power to unilaterally say you've got to repay all of your debt. They have to wait for those rolling maturity dates on the securities in order to do it legally. And even China can't break that bond, because if they try to do that, I mean, we would just tell them to go pound sand. That's not the agreement. So a sell-off might impact us in some fashion if China decided to sell off the debt. But I don't see China doing that anytime soon, because that's not the best return on their money. I hope that makes sense to you. They can't do it in a wholesale fashion. It is 4 o'clock. It's time for the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. An immigration judge in Louisiana ruled today that Columbia University activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported on grounds that he threatens foreign policy as alleged by the Trump administration. The judge giving Khalil's lawyers a deadline of April 23rd to file applications for relief to try to stop his deportation. The judge said if they failed to make the deadline, she'd file an order of removal to either Syria or Algeria. And here's what happened today in the hearing in the case of the Maryland man whom the government says it wrongly deported to El Salvador.
Clearly frustrated by a lack of answers from the government, federal judge Paula Sinise says she'll now require daily updates in writing about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's whereabouts and the administration's efforts to facilitate his return. The judge called those basic questions, but Justice Department lawyer Drew Ensign said he wasn't prepared to answer them. The judge said she wasn't asking for state secrets, just for the status of one man, whom the government acknowledges it shouldn't have sent to El Salvador.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. Uncertainty over tariffs leading to more sell-offs today. The trade battle between the U.S. and China escalating, with 125% hikes on U.S. imports now set to kick in tomorrow. The White House signaling it's waiting for Beijing to reach out for talks. ABC's Karen Travers says any deal with China appears to be far off.
These are very complex conversations that take place anytime a U.S. president meets with the president of China. When Trump and Xi, or when Biden and Xi have met before, it was months in the making, just for a sit-down meeting, just for a phone call. So this is not necessarily a pick up the phone and chat and try to work this out. There would be a lot that would go into it, and the White House is very much indicating they're waiting for their phone to ring from China.
In the last 6 days, the S&P, where Americans have their 401ks and retirement accounts, it's lost nearly $3.5 trillion.
Well, stocks ended higher at the end of today. Here in Tennessee, sad news to report from Percy Priest Lake. The body of a missing kayaker recovered. 73-year-old Don Slusser from Pittsburgh and his wife camping at 7 Points. He went missing during yesterday's storms. Sad news out of Loudoun County in East Tennessee. Crews have reportedly found one body in the search for two missing teenagers who had jumped into the Tennessee River on Wednesday. And we're following reports that a preacher from Maryville was kidnapped at gunpoint in the middle of a sermon at the church he runs in South Africa. Police say 4 men broke into the Fellowship Baptist Church in Motherwell Township last night. They stole cell phones from members of the congregation, then took away Pastor Josh Sullivan in his own pickup. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a crash, 24 downtown eastbound right there at 40. The left lane is blocked. Then 440 eastbound near Nolensville Pike. 40 westbound at Fessler's Lane. 440 eastbound near the Granny White Pike overpass. And then 24 westbound near I-440, the left shoulder blocked by that crash. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, here at the Matt Murphy Show, we are masters of our domain. You know, I forgot to do something this week. I would have called it an annual tradition, but if you don't do it every year, it's not an annual tradition. Normally, I bust out the Masters gear during Masters Week.
Yeah, I thought you would come in with a green jacket today.
I just haven't been feeling it. I got the big old Masters bucket hat, and
Well, that's better left in the closet.
Oh no, it's a great look. I can't really wear it with the headphones though. That's the trouble. One way or the other, my apologies. We're focused, laser focused on this radio show, not so much on the Masters. Although I would note that they got some big names on the top of that leaderboard. These are names that Chris Webber might even recognize.
All right, lay some of them on me.
Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, heard of him.
Yeah, he's one or two shots behind Justin Rose.
Heard of him, yeah.
Bryson DeChambeau,
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah,
I mean, these are the biggest names in the golfing world, and they're all up there on the leaderboard about halfway through the 89th play of the Masters. Love that Jim Nantz.
This is his favorite time of year, too.
Oh, good gracious. Right? He chews it, man. Oh, my goodness gracious, he chews it. And I'm here for it. A tradition unlike any other. The Masters. All right, we're going to chew the scenery with Jay Sinclair coming up in just a second or two. For those of you holding on the phones, if you want to talk to Jay, let Chris know, and we'll get you in. Otherwise, I know that some of you want to talk about illegal aliens and other things, and we'll just have to suspend those conversations until just after our man. We do it every time, every day of this week, what am I trying to say? We do it every Friday. Goodness me. Oh, Ken Weaver got a big kick out of that one.
That's the way to go, Brother Murphy.
I don't know. What am I even doing
What a
here?
team player.
Would you just mind playing the music and we'd just be done with it? Good, great. Oh, by the way, it's not morning either. No. But that's what Paul Harvey said. That's not even Paul Harvey. That's a Paul Harvey impersonator. He says it's Fri-Jay, and it is. It's Fri-Jay. On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hopefully, Jay Sinclair will talk better than your humble host. Hello, Jay.
Hey, Matt.
How's it going, my brother?
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. You sound good.
If I were any better, I would not think I'd be Ken Weaver.
He's doing good.
He seems to be in a really good mood this Friday afternoon.
You know, he is. I saw him earlier today with bananas and saltine crackers, so I don't know. That might have gotten him in a good mood. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going for the fine dining today.
Yeah.
Well, you need some weenies on it there.
Yes, sir. I do.
Vina sausages, man, oh, man. There's only one thing that I like better than Vina sausages, Jay. And that's
fried bologna.
Nah, well, okay. There's two. Oh, I just thought there's two things. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say sardines and mustard, but fried bologna probably beats both of them. Jay, I watched a little of the Masters, and it reminded me of those greens that we were playing on last week.
Well, I don't think they're that fast, but they're faster than they have been. Yeah, those greens. I would love to play that course sometime. You know, Spencer has played over there a couple of times.
Oh, our mutual friend Spencer has played there.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I guess I know some other people have played, just hadn't talked about it. But yeah, I hear the greens are just crazy.
Yeah, the big question, and for you golf fans, you'll appreciate this. And if you're not a golf fan, just indulge us for about 2 minutes. It's like Jay and I talk about NASCAR. So anyway, the question, I love this, right?
I know what you're going to say. I think
you talking about putting them on the green.
Yeah, if an amateur golfer started on the green every hole, and a pro was playing 7,200 yards from the tees,
right?
Could the amateur win?
And the consensus is no. I mean, if it's like I'm probably a 20 handicap, but somebody like me, and you just start on the green, furthest from the hole that you can get on the green,
right?
And all you have to do is 4-putt. I mean, really, or 3-putt. I mean,
well, yeah. Let's see, 430. No, 4 would be 72, so you'd have to beat that.
Yeah, you'd probably have to. You'd probably have to 3-putt a couple of them. I don't know.
3.5 putt. Yeah.
There's always been a question, and I don't think Augusta National would ever do this. I think the players did it one time, where they tried to figure out. I've talked about this before. They tried to figure out back in the late '80s the worst golfer in the world. Mm-hmm. And what they did is that you had to document like a certain number of rounds. They didn't want any people that had never played, right?
Right, sure.
But they brought some people in, some qualifiers in, and they had them play. And they had 2 people when they got to that island green, Jay.
Yeah,
one of the guys he could hit the green, but it wouldn't stay,
right?
Because he had to use like a 5-wood to do it, and so. And he had to finish the round, so eventually he chipped it around the walkway.
Oh, so there is a way you can get there on land.
Oh yeah, there's a little walkway, a little path, and so he had to chip it all the way around to the back of the green and go up the path in order. And I think he made. I mean, I'm not kidding. I think he made like a 50 on that hole.
That's funny.
Jay, I want to get to calls, obviously, and a lot of folks are already lining up. But, just curious your initial reaction, Judge, in this case, the immigration case involving this documented foreign national who had some documentation, but at the same time, the Trump administration said, look, you don't just get carte blanche. You're a guest over here, and if you violate the rules of the conditions of you being over here, you can be deported. And apparently a judge today has agreed with that. Back down in Louisiana, that the Trump administration has the ability to deport, what's his name, Mahmoud Khalil. This is this New York guy that was stirring up trouble at Columbia University. I mean, does that surprise you at all?
No, it doesn't. He must have been here on a visa. I'm not familiar with the facts of that case, man. But visas are by permission. No one has no foreign nationals have the absolute right to enter the United States. Nobody does. Mm-hmm. Everyone is here by permission. And that permission can be withdrawn. Now there's probably some outer constitutional limits to that, man. I hadn't studied that law in depth. But for example, could they just deport someone because of their political views? I'm inclined to say yes, so long as they get a hearing. They do get this sort of process. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to this guy that they mistakenly sent down to the president in El Salvador. The Supreme Court just ruled on that and said, well, you admit you made a mistake, and you should have provided him process before you did that. And in fact, I think if you had done that, you would have realized he was not eligible to be deported. So they have some procedural rights, man. But no foreign national has a constitutional or statutory right to be in this country. Visas can be revoked.
That's well said. That's well said. I love that. I also love that we've got them lined up, Jay, so I'm going to go to them. I'm going to just get out of the way and let folks ask questions of our man. He's our legal expert. He is my life consultant, gambling buddy, and my best friend, Jay Sinclair. He's also a good Tennessee man. I'm going to avoid talking about Tennessee football today. Have you seen this? There's up here. It probably hadn't gotten on the radar screen down there. Up here, this is a big story.
Well, money, it's the money's always been under the surface the whole time, man. But it's right out front now, and it's going to. I don't want to say it's going to ruin the game, but it's sure going to change it.
Yeah, and I will say this about it. And for those who haven't heard, for Tennessee football fans out there that haven't heard, apparently we've got a quarterback, Nico, that's kind of holding out, I guess. He's not going to practice, and he wants to renegotiate his contract. And that all of those words seem very weird to say about college football players, but that's where we are, I guess, you know. Well, hopefully it'll shake itself out pretty quickly. Let's talk first to Mike in Murfreesboro, who has a question for our man, Jay Sinclair. Hey, Mike.
Good afternoon, guys. Appreciate and I always love this segment when you do it, Matt. Thank you. Jay, I was in court yesterday with my ex-wife. She was found contempt for non-payment of child support, for non-payment of back arrears child support, for non-payment of arrears, lawyers' fees, and court costs. The judge ordered her in contempt, and now she is wanted and will be going to jail. Her purge is $10,500 and something. With that, now the other part will be he ruled as a judgment. The attorney fees and court costs is judgment. How does that work now? Will I have to go back to court to fulfill that judgment?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, what's going to happen, I suspect, is if she can't pay it right away, he's going to put her in jail.
Yeah, he did say she's going to jail whenever they catch her.
That's right. And that's the way they do it. It may seem a little bit odd. Well, how can they pay for it in jail? But here's the idea, Mike, is that when people get put in jail, they have to find a way of coming up with money.
Right, exactly right.
That's right. And so as far as the judgment goes, she won't go to jail for that. It will be your obligation to collect that judgment. And it's not an easy thing, Mike. You have to record it. You could maybe probably do it yourself. I tell you, probably the best solution for that, Mike, is to get in touch with one of these debt collection agencies. That's what they do for a living. And they'll charge you probably 10% or maybe a little bit more than that. But if you shop around, you'll get somebody that'll charge you 10%. It's what they do for a living, Mike, is they go collect these debts. And the way it works is they garnish their wages. They find out where they work and they issue a garnishment, and then they take out so much money every week. So that's your best solution to that. If she doesn't just pay it,
then hiring my attorney again to go after.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that's right, because they're set up to do that. That's what they do for a living, and there's a lot of competition in that field, so the prices are pretty reasonable. I would just, I've got a client, a Coca-Cola, a guy who's my client, Coca-Cola, $10,000. I told him just go to one of these debt recovery companies.
Right.
Cheapest way to do it.
That sounds like a good idea. Didn't think about that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
As always,
Good luck,
appreciate
Mike.
the answers, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Mike, I love that you're from Murfreesboro. My dad was born in Murfreesboro. I spent a lot of time there as a kid. I bet Murfreesboro looks a little bit different right now than it did in 1965.
Everybody that lives in Murfreesboro and works in Nashville, and I'm not just talking about Ken Weaver, but everybody that lives down there and works up here, they talk about how much they love Murfreesboro and how much they hate I-24.
Yeah,
it's a weird dynamic, but yes, Murfreesboro.
Well, there's actually a St. Clair Street in Murfreesboro.
Really?
And I think it was named after my grandfather.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go find that sign, Jay. I'll steal that sign for you.
Oh, we stole it a bunch as kids. Absolutely.
I bet you did. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, hold your thought, Jay. It's 4:20. We'll take a quick time out, get back with Brian and Calvin on the phones. If you've got any legal question for Jay Sinclair, I promise you he's got an answer on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy, and I got a couple of questions for you regarding your health insurance. Do you know if you have the coverage that is right for you? I mean, most of us don't. I mean, sadly, it is a fact that we just, we get the coverage and we just re-up it on an annual basis, and circumstances change for us, and we don't realize that we don't have the right coverage. Or here's another question. Do you know how much you're paying? If you don't know if you're getting your money's worth, it's time to call Shane Ring and Cover Nash. Shane Ring and Cover Nash is not a call center agent. He's a local health insurance expert right here in Middle Tennessee. He knows that you don't have to pay for plans that you don't need. Shane will sit down with you and shop the entire health plan market so you know every health plan that is available. I've been to Shane's Brentwood office, and I've seen him do his work, and he is good at what he does. Don't wait around for open enrollment. You don't have to. Go to Cover Nash today. Shane Ring and Cover Nash. CoverNash.com. That's CoverNash.com. Or call 615-465-0023. 465-0023 for our friend Shane Ring and Cover Nash.
Trump administration gets another legal victory, this time in the case of that Columbia University activist. We'll tell you about that more at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Continue to take your questions for our man Jay Sinclair. It is Fri-Jay on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 8138 wants to know if Murfreesboro was the capital of Tennessee. I have a hard time believing that.
I think it was at one time. Yeah, I think I've heard that.
Wow. Well, 8138 wants to know if it was the capital when Jay's dad lived there. And I'm here to tell you, Jay's old, but he's not that old, y'all. Come on. I figured you'd like that. Let's see. Your calls, obviously, 615-737-9986. And we've got a number of folks asking questions on the Super Text line as well. But right now, it's Brian's turn in Thompson Station with Jay Sinclair. Hey, Brian. Good afternoon.
Hey, guys. So nobody's above the law, and insider trading is illegal. And I remember you guys talking about during COVID, when they were coming out with all the vaccines, how a lot of members of Congress invested in those companies before the vaccine was ever released. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering how is it that insider trading is illegal for the populace but not for the politician?
Well, it is illegal, Brian. It's illegal. They just hadn't been charged. Not everybody that speeds is given a ticket. But I'll tell you, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens under the current administration.
Well, and it needs to happen.
We'll see. Well, of course it does.
Well,
I mean, if anybody's breaking the law, and they're the worst, Brian, they're the worst because they have the public trust. They really should be held to higher standards.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We're losing. It's almost like we're a third world country now because we have people that can kill. I mean, look how many people that the Clintons killed. Yeah. That we're going to testify against them. They get shot in the back and nothing's stolen. And they say they were mugged.
Well, we'll see what General Bondi does.
All right.
I'll say this, Brian. If it doesn't happen under this administration, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
And Brian, you're only an alleged murderer until you get tried and convicted. So
that's true.
I mean, I have to say that because I'm held to a different standard than you are. And you can run around talking about the Clintons killing people, and I'm not. I can't. So, but you're only an alleged murderer until you get tried, until you get convicted, and then you are a convicted murderer.
They may just be really good stock pickers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, it's amazing how many people go to the halls of Congress, Jay. You and I know a particular individual.
Stab us in the back. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Spencer stabbed us in the Bacchus. His name was Spencer Bacchus, and I called him Spencer stabbed us in the Bacchus. He was a representative for the 6th Congressional District, and I think I have this about right, that when he served for about, I want to say 12 years, he went into Congress, and he was worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000. And he left Congress 12 years later, and he was worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 million. Wow. And most of it was from stock trading.
Yeah, well, he's not the only one. There's some guy on the internet who tracks Nancy Pelosi stock deals. I guess they have to disclose when they do them or whatever. And he says if you had bought the same thing Nancy Pelosi bought with $100,000 or whatever, here's where you would be. And it is great. I mean, it's astounding. Certainly beating the S&P 500. So we don't know. We don't know if they're guilty of a crime, but man, there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke. And if this Department of Justice does not investigate that, then no one ever will, man. I'm just putting it down there where the goats can get to it.
Well, I've been a little bit, you know what? I try to be hesitant to judge. We have to remind ourselves we're 81 days in. I was not as impressed with some of the political theater around these Epstein files. I don't even think we're going to find anything good in the Epstein files, or I certainly don't believe that there's necessarily a smoking gun, but. Some of the circus that surrounded what they did, and eventually nothing was really released. And then, I'm a little disappointed, and I don't know if you've caught up with this. It's more of a local deal, but, there's a local organization, the Tennessee Star, that's been trying to they've been suing the Department of Justice for the...
I saw that. Because they gave it to somebody, right?
They gave it to Megyn Kelly, a national podcaster. And look, I understand, people say, well, she's on our side and all that. Well, that doesn't matter.
No, I won't see it.
Yeah. I mean, why should we have to filter what we learn about it through her? Right. If it is able to be released to her, why couldn't you release it?
Then everybody should have it. I agree with that 100%, man.
All right, Calvin and Crystal, don't want to rush you, so we'll get to you in just a moment, you on the phones and you on the super text line as we continue Fri-Jay after this.
4:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. An immigration judge in Louisiana ruling today that Columbia University activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported. Judge Jamie Comins found that Khalil is removable. Undersecretary of State Marco Rubio's assertion that Khalil's continued presence and his actions in the U.S. actually compromise foreign policy and political priorities, including combating anti-Semitism. And here's what happened in the hearing for the case of the Maryland man the government wrongly deported to El Salvador. Stephen Portnoy.
A lawyer for the Justice Department said he needed more time to answer what the judge called basic and straightforward questions. Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and what is the government doing to get him back? Judge Paula Sinise said the Supreme Court has now spoken quite clearly about the need for the administration to provide details on its efforts. She's ordered daily written updates, saying at this point she's seen no evidence that anything has been done to facilitate the man's return. It's a fact she called extremely troubling.
Sad news out of Loudoun County in East Tennessee today. Crews have reportedly found one body in the search for two missing teenagers who jumped into the Tennessee River on Wednesday. And here in Middle Tennessee, crews recovered the body of a kayaker at Percy Priest Lake. 73-year-old Don Slusser of Pittsburgh was reported missing by his wife around 8:30 last night after he disappeared as the storm moved through the area where they were camping. Friends tell Channel 4 they're shocked since Don was such an active person, participating in every Pittsburgh marathon, about 300,000 miles worth, logging thousands of hours kayaking.
It's just so unexpected and sudden. You know, he didn't die of old age or some health issue. It was just some random freak storm that just caught him by surprise, and it had to be wicked to really capsize or upset him where he couldn't get out of a situation that was difficult. And that's what's really shocking about it.
Now, authorities say he had a life jacket on. This is the first death on Percy Priest Lake this year. The Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency is now investigating. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Downtown got a crash blocking the left lane 24 eastbound after Shelby Avenue. In Antioch, Bell Road at I-24, then Briley Parkway near I-24. Got a crash reported 40 westbound at Fessler's Lane. Then in Madison, 65 northbound after Old Hickory Boulevard. In Green Hills, police reporting a stalled shoulder on the stalled car, that is, blocking the left shoulder. 440 eastbound near the Granny White Pike overpass. And in Woodbine, a crash on the left shoulder. TDOT says it's 24 westbound near I-440. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for You as Pest. It is that time of year, folks. I told you so. You love me saying that. I told you it would get to this time of year where the pests are growing in abundance. I mean, they are out and about, friends, whether it's fleas and ticks on the dogs and the cats, or maybe it's roaches and silverfish and ladybugs, ants maybe, affecting you in your home. You need to get U.S. Pest in your life. If you're not satisfied with your current pest provider, or if you don't currently have one, you need to do this. They tackle all things in Tennessee that come into your home and try to take what's yours. They want to live in your walls. They want to take your food. They want to enjoy the cool AC. Termite protection's available as well with preventative and corrective services, 100% money-back guarantee. Every home in Tennessee is threatened by termites, and you need to make sure that you are not one of them. Full-service pest control and crawl space service available too. U.S. Pest is simply the best. when it comes to pest control. Go to uspest.com or call J.K. and Erica Brister today or one of their teammates at US Pest, 590-1260. That's 590-1260. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to US Pest. We had a wonderful breakfast recently with Men of Valor. Almost 2,000 of our closest friends enjoyed breakfast together, fellowship together, and watched the changed lives of graduates of Men of Valor. It's such a wonderful morning, and it's the reason that I encourage you to go. Why? Because these men went into the prison system truly as criminals. They were takers in their community. And because of the efforts of Men of Valor to get into our prison system and to offer these men the biblical word of God, to offer them a better life and hope for their future, they come out as men of integrity, truly as men of valor, and they stop being takers in their community and they become givers within their community. Will you give today? Whether it's through volunteerism or through your monetary donations, they need you at Men of Valor. Go to movministry.com. That's movministry.com to find out how they can you can assist them and how you can help the next batch of graduates through Men of Valor. Yes, indeed. It is Fri-Jay on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. One of our favorite segments of the week. We spend the better part of an hour with our good friend, a legal correspondent, good Tennessee man, Jay Sinclair. And we've got a number of you on the phone lines awaiting. Someone said that the St. Clair Center in Murfreesboro is on St. Clair Road. And
exactly.
He wonders if
right.
Maybe that's named after Pops, too. I don't know.
Well, now the St. Clair Center is not. I think they named that just out of the
after
road.
the road.
But yeah, there's like a little area there. Yeah, my grandfather, he worked at the railroad station. I think he may have been the station manager, and maybe that's why they named that street after him. I never really heard that whole story, but it looked real good up on the wall of my bedroom.
That's so good.
And my brother and my cousins.
Oh, yeah.
They had to have a lot of those signs made.
I bet. It's like it reminded me a little bit of there was some part of America where they had a 420 sign.
Yeah, it was in Colorado.
And the dopers kept stealing it, and so they changed it to 419 and a half or something like that.
Right.
So that the dopers would stop stealing it. Sandra writes in and says, Matt, it is funny how you sound more Southern when you talk to Jay. I do. It is true. I do.
Sandra, I have no idea what you were talking about.
Jay says I talk normal around him. I did that around my grandpa too. My grandfather Jay draws it out of me. He draws the Thompson, no P in Thompson back out of me. Calvin, you are next up with our man Jay St. Clair. What is going on, Calvin?
Hey guys, quick question. I got a property question for Jay. I own a house in Wisconsin on the lake, and the lot is about 3/4 of an acre. The house takes up maybe a quarter of an acre. The rest of it is wooded property
Okay.
up a hill. My neighbor the other day decided to get his chainsaw out and started cutting down my tree.
Mm-hmm.
And my other neighbor called me and said, "Hey, did you give him permission?" I said, "No." So I called the neighbor that was cutting the trees down and said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, the trees are too tall and it's blocking my view to the lake."
Right.
And I said, "Well, you're on my property line." He goes, "Well, I really don't know where the property line is."
Right.
So then my neighbor, the other neighbor, took pictures, sent them to me. He didn't cut down one or two trees. He cut down a whole bunch of trees.
Yeah. So how can I help you, Calvin?
My question is, the land, the property's in Wisconsin.
Right.
I've been told to get an attorney, sue him.
Yeah. Right.
And, I mean, he called me, he said, "I'll plant trees and blah, blah, blah."
Right.
Well, the trees aren't going to grow back. When I,
Yep. Here's my suggestion. Here's what I would do first. I wouldn't hire a lawyer first, Calvin. I would, in your mind, come up with a sum of number, a number that in your mind would compensate you for him killing your trees. I don't know if they're still laying there. If you hold them all, there may be some value to the lumber, but I would come up in your mind, and I might bump it up a little bit. And what would make you can't get the trees back, Calvin? They're gone. The only thing you can get is money, and so you need to decide in your mind how much money you think he owes you, and then I just go tell him that. Because here's the deal: if he had approached you before this and said, "Hey, you know what, Calvin, your trees are blocking my view. I would like to buy your trees. I will pay you for me to get a better view." That's what he should have done, but he didn't, and so now he's going to have to pay a premium for it. So yes, so come up.
The other
Go
concern
ahead.
I have is the property slant. His property's on a hill, so there's rainwater that runs down to my house.
Yeah, well, see, that's what all these things you have to take into consideration, Calvin, to decide what the fair compensation is for you. Because if you sue him and you go to court, here's going to be the most important question. Well, how much does he owe you? What do you claim he owes you? And so that's what you got to figure out. And if you have to talk to some experts to come up with that number, do that. And the runoff, the erosion may be part of that. But you need to come up in your mind. You don't need a lawyer to help you. You need to come up in your mind with what you think he owes you. And if part of that means building some dams or berms to keep from runoff happening, include that in your demand. And then go to him and say, "Well, this is what you owe me." And then see where it goes from there.
That I should call the police because he trespassed on my land. I don't want to do it.
Where you been getting your legal advice, Calvin? You need to call this show for legal. I bet that lawyer got his law degree at Walmart.
No, Google.
Call a real
on the Googles. He got it on the Googles.
Call a real lawyer.
He got it
call a real lawyer. I bet that guy went to Harvard.
Oh no! Here we go. Oh no! That's the worst.
You come up in your mind, Calvin. What he can't. The trees are gone, Calvin. You can't get the trees back. The only thing you can get is money. So you need to take everything into consideration, and you decide what you think he owes you, and add 25% to it. I learned that from reading Donald Trump's book, The Heart of the Deal. You come in high, and then you negotiate down to where you want to be.
Calvin, let us know how it goes, brother.
Thank you, Brady.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Let us know how it goes.
Quit talking to those Harvard lawyers, Calvin.
Man, oh man, talking to a Harvard lawyer is worse than talking to a Google lawyer or a Walmart lawyer. Crystal is in McMinnville with a question for Jay Sinclair. Hey, Crystal.
Hey, how are y'all?
Great.
Okay, so my husband and I built a home. It has taken us 3 years to complete because we have tried to do everything that we could ourselves. But, of course, we've had to hire some contractors. We hired a company out of Dixon to come and do the drywall. And we had issues with them the entire time. They were drinking and smoking in my new house, and there was all kinds of screws hanging out. You can see all the seams. Things weren't sanded good. They didn't feather out, the mud and just all these things.
So how can I help you, Crystal?
I don't know if I can do anything about that because I had to hire another company to come in behind them and fix it all. Is there?
Have you already paid? Have you paid the drywall company in full?
Yes, everybody's been paid.
Yeah, well, that may have been a mistake, but all you can really do is you can start by writing them a letter. You really need a lawyer to help you on this, Crystal. Lawyer letters just carry more weight. But you can write them and say, well, this is what it costs to have somebody come in behind you and fix it. And they owe you that, Crystal. By law, they owe you that. And they're probably not going to pay it. And then all you can sue them in General Sessions Court. How much money did it take to fix it?
So it was about, I think it was $5,000 to $7,000 just to have the company come in to fix all of that.
Right. Yeah. So you could sue them yourself. You could sue them in General Sessions Court. And we joke a lot about how it takes $400 to file a lawsuit. Actually, I looked it up recently. In General Sessions Court, it's only $175 or $187.50. And you could file that lawsuit yourself and not have to hire a lawyer. And for that amount of money at issue, that's probably what's in your best interest. I'd start off by send them a letter, send them a copy of the bill that you got from the company that came in and did the repair work, Crystal, and then say, you owe me this amount of money, and if you don't pay me, I'm going to sue you.
Do I have
and then see what happens.
This was at the end of 2023.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're in plenty of time, but I wouldn't wait around. I'd go ahead and do that right away.
So
send them a copy. I'm sorry?
Send them a letter?
Yep, that's the first thing I'd do. Send them a demand letter and say that the work you did was no good. I had to hire a company, come in behind you and fix it. Here's the bill they sent me. I paid them. You owe me this money. If you don't pay me this money, I'll sue you.
Okay.
They may ignore you, Crystal, or they may want to negotiate with you because they don't want to get sued, but they'll probably just ignore you. But then when you sue them, they'll talk to you then. And you can't sue them yourself in General Sessions Court. I think it's $187.50.
I can handle that.
Don't forget the 50 cents.
Yeah.
Crystal, can I ask you a question?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
I love accents, and I love trying to guess where people come from. You have the most beautiful accent, and I just have to believe you were born and raised in Middle Tennessee.
You are exactly right.
Exactly where?
I was born in Cookeville and raised in Nashville, so I'm a little bit of everything. But now I live in McLaclin. So.
Well, okay. Well, I was born in Dunlap and spent a lot of time in Crossville in that area. So that's why your voice, I think, is so pleasing to me. And you have kind of you have sort of an upper crust sound to you don't talk like I do. I bet you grew up as a member of a country club.
Uh-oh.
Doubt it. Not at all.
No. Crystal says no, Jay.
Well, no.
You have a lovely voice.
Well,
I came to the country and I've never left.
Well, send them that letter, and then when they ignore you, sue them. And then if they need some little help with that, I would be delighted to help you. You can find me on the internet. We can't hide, and I'd love to help you with that.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Crystal. All right, take care. Jay, this coming in from you nailed the Middle Tennessee, Jay, by the way.
Yeah.
Nailed the Middle Tennessee. You're always good at that. He's always been good.
Spent a lot of time there. Spent a lot of time there.
Question for Jay. My mother was deceased in 2015. How long should I keep her paperwork? I'm the only one left in my family. Both my parents and my only sibling have passed away. That's from Michael on the Super Text line.
You know, I wish they'd said exactly what kind of paperwork, Matt. If there's a will, I would keep it forever. There's no requirement by law. I think tax returns only have to be kept for 5 years. But I would keep the will forever. It really kind of depends on what kind of paperwork you're talking about. If you're talking about bank records, throw them away. If you're talking about tax returns that are they're more than 5 years old, throw them away. I've purged all mine. I can't imagine, deeds, don't throw away a deed. I'd keep deeds, and I would keep wills. I don't think there's anything else you really need to keep after 10 years. I can't think of anything else. Well, if you have an autograph football from Johnny Majors,
keep that.
I would keep that. I would keep that.
Don't throw that one away. Pat writes in, Jay, and says, ask Jay if there's a statute of limitations on sign stealing.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a statute. Okay, Pat, that's fine. Yes, because I trust me, I did not talk about this, certainly not on the radio, until the statute of limitations. I think it's a 5-year statute, and that ran many, many years ago.
One more quick one. Connie, if you can get the question in quick, we can do it. We've only got about a minute or two. You're up, Connie, out of Cookeville.
Thanks. I have a piece of property that's landlocked, and there's no easement. We had verbal permission to access the property, which has now been rescinded. What can we do about that?
You know, I looked at this recently, Connie. This is a real technical issue, but there is a way in the law to get an easement of necessity. That's what it's called. In other words, you own a piece of property, but it's landlocked. You don't own the property to get in there. You have to cross somebody else's property to get to your property, right?
Correct.
The law recognizes that as a problem, and the law does offer a solution. I've got bad news for you, Connie. You're not going to be able to handle this yourself. You're just going to need a lawyer to do that. But there is a way to accomplish that, and it's called an easement of necessity.
Okay.
But you're just going to have to get somebody that does. How valuable is the property, Connie?
It went at auction for $110,000.
Yeah. Well, get a lawyer.
Yeah. Let us know how that goes, Connie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Thank you
You
very
just
much.
get yourself a lawyer, and but there's a fairly simple remedy. You feel like, Jay?
Well, it's not simple. It's actually real estate law is stuck in the 19th century, man. Here's the reason they do it. The law is back at the time they wanted land to be developed, man. They didn't want it to sit fallow.
Right.
And so if there was a landlocked piece of land, well, they said, well, we want somebody to farm it. And so we're going to force one of their neighbors to give them the right to come across the land. You may have to pay for it, but the law recognizes that as a problem, and there is a way to solve it.
Jay, my friend, you know how much I love these segments. You know how much I love you, and I appreciate you, brother. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, brother. Love you, too.
All right, take care. There's Jay Sinclair. It's Fri-Jay. It's 52. No, check that. 54 after the hour. Got to go on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, obviously, you need someone that you can trust when it comes to AC repairs. You need someone that you can trust when it comes to maintaining your air conditioning unit. Who is that? That's Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. Jeff Eddy's a small company, but he's got big results in mind. He never charges you overtime at nights on weekends. He always charges you $125 or less for your maintenance calls on your AC at your residence. Oftentimes, it is much less than $125, but that is the max cap. Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling has the best value around on those tune-ups, and we want you to get your AC tuned up so you get maximum life out of that AC. That's what it's all about with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Go to efficienthvac.net, efficienthvac.net, or call 615-784-4424. 615-784-4424. efficienthvac.net. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
5 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. An immigration judge in Louisiana ruled today Columbia University anti-Israel activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported, but gave Khalil's attorneys until April 23rd to request a stay of deportation. Khalil, who is in the U.S. by permission through green card, organized protests against the war in Gaza on Columbia's campus, which the Trump administration says led to harassment of Jewish students. And he took part in negotiation with school administrators, demanding the institution cut ties with Israel and divest from Israeli companies, and to allow him to stay in the U.S., the Trump administration says goes against U.S. foreign policy. Here's Stephen Portnoy covering that hearing today in the case of the Maryland man the government wrongly deported to El Salvador.
Clearly frustrated by a lack of answers from the government, federal judge Paula Sinise says she'll now require daily updates in writing about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's whereabouts and the administration's efforts to facilitate his return. The judge called those basic questions, but Justice Department lawyer Drew Ensign said he wasn't prepared to answer them. The judge said she wasn't asking for state secrets, just for the status of one man, whom the government acknowledges it shouldn't have sent to El Salvador.
Here in Tennessee, sad news out of Loudoun County in East Tennessee. Crews reportedly found one body in the search for two missing teenagers who had jumped into the Tennessee River on Wednesday. And in Nashville, a kayaker has died in Percy Priest Lake. Crews recovered the body of 73-year-old Don Slusser this morning. His wife had reported him missing around 8:30 last night after he disappeared as the storm moved through the area where they were camping. They were here on vacation, and they're from Pittsburgh originally. A preacher from East Tennessee has been kidnapped at gunpoint in South Africa. Police in the Motherwell Township say 4 armed and masked men burst into the Fellowship Baptist Church in the middle of a sermon, stole at least 2 cell phones from the congregation, and then left with 45-year-old Josh Sullivan in his own pickup. Markets react to tariffs.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump says he's optimistic that the U.S. and China can reach a trade deal. So far, though, China not reaching out to hold talks, hiking levies on U.S. imports to 125%. That after President Trump slapped China with a 145% tax on Chinese goods. Some businesses already feeling the pinch.
Rita Panera's owns Child's Play toy shop in Washington and says the president's tariffs will force her to raise prices.
We've already had some manufacturers increase prices on us. So yesterday we saw a surcharge, as it said specifically that it was a tariff surcharge of 15% on an invoice. So we weren't notified ahead of time.
The tariffs China has placed on American goods in retaliation could also hurt American farmers, including in battleground states like Wisconsin that President Trump carried.
ABC's Rachel Scott. Consumer sentiment fell 11% this last month. In less than a week, the S&P lost some $3.5 trillion in value.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Right now in Madison, police reporting a crash 65 northbound after Old Hickory Boulevard. In Glencliff, right shoulder blocked by a crash 24 eastbound approaching Briley Parkway. Downtown, left lane blocked by a crash. TDOT says this one's 24 eastbound after Shelby Avenue. And south side, we got 40 westbound at Fessler's Lane. Police reporting a crash there. In Woodbine, TDOT reports a crash on the left shoulder, 24 westbound near I-440. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, here we are. Here we go. It's the second half of a Friday edition of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can also find us on a variety of streaming apps. Wherever you stream music or news or information on your phone, your smartphone, or your laptop, you can stream us. Just type in Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can also find us on the YouTubes and the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Twitches via Super Talk TV, located over there. When you're over there finding Super Talk TV, look for All the Best Words. It's a brand new podcast with yours truly and Cameron Smith. We would love for you to check that out and let us know what you think. It's a short, consumable bite of information over the course of the week. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a new podcast is dropping tonight at 7 p.m. on all of those various platforms, plus on 997WTN.com. So we look forward to that. Obviously, catching you up on what's going on in the news. If you are just getting in your automobiles, really the big breaking news story of the afternoon is that a judge in Louisiana has ruled that the Trump administration does, in fact, have the authority to deport Mahmoud Khalil, the rabble-rouser who was in New York City causing trouble, stirring up trouble, and basically going against basic U.S. foreign policy with regard to some of the incidents that involved anti-Semitism on the campus of Columbia University. For that reason, he was declared to be unlawfully violating his visa, his lawful entry into the United States of America, and as a guest entry into the United States, that can be rescinded. That can be pulled out from under you, and a judge in Louisiana has determined that is, in fact, the case. Of course, you won't hear about this on #NeverCNN and some of these other organizations because it was positive news for the Trump administration, and you know how that goes. Closer to home, there are a number of items that we're covering for you in the Tennessee General Assembly, not the least of which is a bill that we brought up last week, and I've not talked a lot about it this week, but I do want to get back into it. We had planned to have Congressman, or rather I should say Senator Ken Yeager on about this. It is involving vaping in the state of Tennessee. There's a piece of legislation, I think there's a Senate number on this too, but there's a piece of legislation that is House Bill, where was it? Well, I don't even know that the number matters that much. 968, House Bill 968, that has now stalled in House committee, in my opinion, thankfully. Sponsors of the bill have framed it as a measure to try to crack down on youth vaping in our state and the use of, quote, illicit Chinese vapes that are wreaking havoc, their words, on Tennessee youth. I thought it may be a good idea to understand how this would impact a lot of legitimate businesses in the state of Tennessee, as there are not just hundreds but thousands of vape stores providing these items to grown-ups who want to indulge in vaping or want to try to stop smoking cigarettes, which have demonstrated far more harm to the general public than said vaping. With this in mind, I reached out to a gentleman. Actually, he emailed me a few days ago. His name is Fred Richmond, and he's over in Knoxville, and he agreed to come on just to give his perspective on this legislation and what ought to and ought not to be done with regard to vaping in the state. Fred, we welcome you to the show. Thanks for being willing to come on with us. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Matt. It's good to talk to you. Hopefully we can clear the air on some of these things that are floating through the House right now.
Well, I hope so too. Obviously, the biggest piece of this that is of concern to me is the taxation piece, and I imagine that that's of concern to you. But I don't want to draw you in any particular direction. Talk to me about your perception of the bill, Fred, and what your top line concerns are.
Well, initially when Senate Bill 763 and House Bill 968 were introduced, these bills were set to pretty much wipe the market of everything that was not already authorized by the FDA to be sold, that has not already had what they call it pre-market tobacco approval. So these bills only wanted those products on the market. Now, from my understanding from the legislator in Nashville, that the intent of these bills was to get some of these Chinese vapes off the market. And there are some Chinese vapes. Majority of the stuff that is sold in your legitimate, people who care about tobacco harm reduction vape shops are going to be what they call open systems. Now, a disposable, those are closed systems. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to note that all of the FDA-approved products are closed systems. So what we've got is we've got a system where it's got a pod, you change it out, or you buy a whole nother device, and you vape it and you throw it away. There's a couple things wrong with that scenario is those disposables, not only are you throwing away, a lot of trash, some of those that you throw the whole thing away, you're throwing a lithium-ion battery in the garbage. That's not good for our environment. I am a proponent of the open systems, the ones that are refillable, that use a battery that can be recharged multiple times. You can take the battery out, properly recycle it, replace it with a new one. Those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at. And the problem with these two bills, now the Senate Bill 763, that already passed the House. They voted on that, and they voted in favor of that. Now, the House bill, that has been stalled in finance, and finance has started to take note of some things that myself, many of my other constituents, and other vape shop owners have pointed out to them as, hey, look, there are adults out there who use these products to stay off of tobacco. Mm-hmm. And when you get into a situation where you're looking at harm reduction, the federal government, the FDA, and many states have not been receptive to harm reduction. I personally was a smoker for over 20 years. I used vaping to get off of smoking. It's kind of why I opened my shop. I kind of have a passion. People were asking me when I was first using it. I've been doing it for 16 years. People, when I first started using it, were asking me, hey, what is that? And, a lot of people were not educated. The problem we're running into with these bills is that a lot of the representatives, senators, these people, they just don't know the facts about these things. We can look at, for instance, the Royal College of Physicians. They had a study, I think it was all the way back in like 2007 or 2008, that said vaping is at least 95% safer than combustible tobacco. There's a lot of different terms used for vaping. Vaping is, I like to tell people vaping is a verb, okay? It's an action that you're doing. A lot of people vape different things. What this bill affects me and my business and a lot of my other local businesses, it affects them in the fact that this is for tobacco harm reduction. And this is specifically what they were going after with these two pieces of legislation.
Fred, let me ask you this. When you talk about the difference between the open system and the closed system, and there's a lot of reaction when we discuss this, and a lot of it focuses on what the lawmakers called the Chinese products. Can you help me understand that? Because I think there's a lot of that's loaded language, I would think. But at the same time, is there a necessity for us to figure out if there are certain products on the market that aren't as advertised or are potentially harmful in some way?
Okay, when we get to that point of things, there are a lot of these disposable vapes. Everybody that's been into a convenience store or just about anywhere anymore, I think even the Dollar Generals sell them. Anywhere you go, you find these vapes that are flavored in different things, and some of these things do appeal to children, and that was part of the intent of this bill, is to get this out of the hands of children. Which my shops, I've always had a rule when it was 18 for vaping before Trump and the state here in Tennessee changed it to 21. Nobody even came in my store unless they were old enough. Now that it's 21, we're at that point. The problem is where these are available in widespread, different markets, you've got these products that, these stores buy the cheapest thing they can get. Obviously, the cheapest thing they get is going to be made in China. Most of those are going to be the disposables, the ones that are what we call a closed system. So when you get involved with a closed system product, there's no refilling of any juice. What's in it? The liquid that's in it is what I mean when I say juice. When you get into the product itself, if it's made in China, many of those products are shipped to the United States with the liquid pre-filled. In that case, yes, there are dangers not knowing, the restrictions that they have in China or Taiwan, wherever these things may be made, as to, the quality of the materials that are used. Vaping for tobacco harm reduction using a nicotine vape contains 4 different products. You got vegetable glycerin, propylene glycol, food grade flavoring, and nicotine. All 4 of those products are approved for uses by the FDA in different scenarios. So we don't really know. We don't have control over what comes from China, what might be in those. What a lot of the manufacturers are doing nowadays because of this is, even in the disposables, but all open systems, the liquid that goes in them, they're made in the United States. The FDA is very clear on that.
So that's good information. So if it's an open vaping system, that liquid that goes in there is made in the U.S.
100%, all of it. There are stuff that you can order offline, the TikTok shops, whatever. Yeah, you're going to be getting shipped something from China or another country, and you don't know what's in it. But if you go in to a reputable vape shop anywhere in Tennessee, and I think there's 6,500 plus of us out there, most of those bottles that you see on the shelf, you look at them, it'll tell you the ingredients that are in them, and it'll tell you made in the United States.
And just to make sure that we address it, I don't believe, Fred, you or any other vape store owners that I know of are against. I mean, right now you understand what the rules are. Reputable vape store owners are going to ask for identification, and you don't have a problem if the state wants to, crack down and make sure that young underage kids aren't buying these types of things. That's not an issue for you, is it?
No, not an issue at all. As a matter of fact, we've been doing that before the state even required it. We were doing it even before, the age got changed to 21. We were checking IDs. We treated it like a liquor store,
Right.
If you want to buy it, you got to prove that you're old enough to buy it.
Right.
And that's the way it should be. And I don't think any reputable vape shop out there is going to have a problem with that. Here's where the problem starts, where these kids are getting a hold of it, and why this legislation started to become, an issue. The resource officers are finding these things with the kids in school, and, they're having to seize them from them. They're having to notify their parents. It's becoming a point of contention in the state, and it's every state. Here's what we run into. There are places out there you can buy these, especially the disposables, which is primarily what is the problem with the children, because they don't know how to use these open systems. They're a little more complex. You need a little training. You have to go to a vape shop who's going to card you, and you're not going to get it anyway. But you can slip into your local convenience store, and if they're real busy and they're ringing stuff up, you look like you might be 21. They don't ask. These kids are getting a hold of it. The Tennessee Smoke-Free Association, which I'm a member of, we proposed a bill this year that would put these vapes in 21 and up only establishments. For instance, like mine. That way everybody who's buying one gets carded, because literally we card everyone who comes in the door. You can't make a purchase in my store unless you have your ID.
Is that legislation that is moving forward, do you believe?
Well, the legislation that they have now, they want to raise. Currently, I think it's if the federal law is if you look under 27, you have to show ID, and I think state recommends if they look under 30, you're supposed to request their ID. We just sidestep that. We go all the way to, look, to buy this, you have to show your ID. And I think that's the safest bet. And I think that's where this legislation should have went. The fact that they're throwing in taxes on this just doesn't make it look beautiful to us, We're already doing, the reputable shops, are already doing the legwork for the state of enforcing not selling to these people under 21.
Well, only about a minute or so left, Fred, but the bottom line this for me, what do you think if the taxation piece were to happen to the vaping industry in the state of Tennessee, would that shut down vape shops, or would it have, I would imagine it would at least have a negative impact on the business.
It would. The state, what they're proposing in the initial bill, without any amendments, was that they were proposing that only FDA-approved products or FDA products that are in the pipeline or in process of being approved could be sold, and they would have to register with the state to be sold here. In the way that this bill is written, the FDA does not share that information other than which ones are approved. So that would leave 34 products on the market, all of them being only tobacco flavor and like menthol tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
So 34 products, 2 different flavors, that doesn't keep a vape shop in business.
Fred, great way to give your perspective on the conversation. I appreciate you being willing to do so. We'll monitor that and maybe give you a call back for additional details when it comes back up again. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Fred Richmond, who owns a vape shop over in Knoxville, and obviously is an advocate for, well, I mean, he just doesn't want this taxation to go into effect. There's a lot of strong feelings on either side of this. Some folks saying that vaping is worse than smoking cigarettes. Others obviously saying that it's a way for you to remove yourself from the scourge of cigarettes while still maintaining a nicotine habit. It's obviously a drug that you're ingesting. One way or the other, that information for you and for your edification. Thoughts on it? 615-737-9986. It's 24 after the hour on Super Talk. Whether you're a professional cutter or a homeowner that wants to mow like a pro, you can mow like a pro with Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Friends, if you are thinking about cutting this spring, I mean, you probably already cut once or twice, you need to try out these Ferris mowers. They're incredible commercial mowers. They feature the turf industry's most advanced independent suspension system, the Forefront suspension. They really are the first to think about suspension on a mower, and it is a cutting-edge technology, no pun intended, and it has changed the game. Whether you're a professional cutter or a homeowner that wants to mow like a pro, Ferris is the way to go. And you can also go where the pros go, to Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Spring is here, obviously. You know that. You see this grass growing, you need to get it down. Go, and they can offer you professional advice from a team of know-how professionals at Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Whether it's fertilizers, seeds, pre-emergents, herbicides, they've got it all at Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply, and a location near you with Nashville, Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Brentwood Mower, Hendersonville, Mount Juliet, and Franklin. That's 7 separate locations. DickensSupply.com online. That's DickensSupply.com online. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Natural Safe House is celebrating its 33rd year in the safe and vault business. 33 years. You don't do anything that long if you're not doing it right. Mark and his team, they do it right. They offer the best selection of home safes, gun safes, high-security safes, and vault doors, plus tornado shelters. Nashville Safe House has over 200 safes on display in their showroom and hundreds more in their warehouse. In other words, they have a safe for you at Nashville Safe House. They're the largest Browning dealer in the United States of America, not just in Tennessee, in the entire country. That means they're the largest Browning dealer in the world. No one else sells more safes than in Tennessee, the Nashville Safe House. And right now, you've still got a little bit of time through April 15th. They have rebates of up to $400 on tremendous selection of safes at Nashville Safe House. Huge savings on select models. And as always, they are sales tax free with gun safes at Nashville Safe House. Don't forget, special event through April 15th, and the Safe House only has certified delivery crews delivering your safe. Don't let a crackhead deliver your safe. Let's get it done with Nashville Safe House. Across the street from City Cemetery on 4th Avenue South, anywhere at NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Tell them Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House.
Tennessee lawmakers advancing a bill that bans hemp flower because when you smoke it, the level of THC that gets you high goes beyond what federal law allows. This story and more coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Google, where do I buy hemp flower? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, are we on? Oh, hey, guys. Hey, what's up? I was just talking to Google.
Brother Murphy, your microphone was on.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I apologize. My bad. Yeah, the hemp flower bill. How about that? We've got a lot of response on the vaping legislation, too, and we'll get into that. All of that to come. Plus, Ninkampoops in the news. I ran along with Fred Richmond, so let's get to the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Why not?
.5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. An immigration judge in Louisiana ruling today that Columbia University anti-Israel activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported, but gave Khalil's attorneys until April 23rd to request a stay of deportation. Khalil, who is in the U.S. by permission through green card only, organized the protests against the war in Gaza on Columbia's campus, which the Trump administration says led to harassment of Jewish students, which goes against U.S. foreign policy. Here's Armando Garcia.
It's very clear that the Trump administration wanted to make an example out of him. This was the very first high-profile case of an international student being targeted by the Trump administration over his alleged actions during demonstrations. Now, it's really important here because his legal team did push back on a lot of those claims. There was a lot of information that was filed actually just 2 minutes before the hearing happened.
Yeah, the judge said at the hearing that she had no authority to question Secretary of State Marco Rubio's determination and did not consider defense motions questioning his alleged anti-Semitic activity. A separate case will soon be decided in a New Jersey federal court over whether Khalil should have been arrested and detained in the first place. Stephen Portnoy has the latest from today's hearing in the case of the Maryland man the government wrongly deported to El Salvador.
At a hearing that lasted nearly half an hour, federal judge Paula Sinise repeatedly asked a Justice Department attorney what she called basic questions. Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and what has the government been doing to get him back? DOJ lawyer Drew Ensign said he couldn't answer those questions. In response, Judge Sinise said she'd require updates in writing each day on the government's efforts to track Abrego Garcia and to facilitate his return, saying the Supreme Court has now spoken quite clearly about the need for both.
And right now in Tennessee, a bill is advancing in the General Assembly that bans hemp flower because when you smoke it, the level of THC, the part that gets you high, goes beyond the federal legal threshold of 0.3%. The Senate still has to vote on the legislation, which must match the House bill before it moves to Republican Governor Bill Lee's desk to be signed into law. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. TDOT says we got a disabled vehicle, 40 eastbound near Charlotte Avenue, blocking things up. And then in Madison, looks like we're still dealing with an earlier crash, 65 northbound after Old Hickory Boulevard. And then 24 eastbound downtown, the left lane is blocked by a crash after Shelby Avenue. In Berry Hill, got a crash reported, 65 northbound after I-440. And a stalled vehicle on the right shoulder, 24 eastbound approaching Briley Parkway. Over on the South Loop, got a crash reported by police, 40 westbound near 4th Avenue. Metro Center, police reporting a crash, 65 southbound approaching Rosa Parks Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Euroix has a very different business philosophy. They staff all of their locations with more individuals than the average auto repair shop for a good reason. They want to be ready for you in the case of an emergency when something pops out of nowhere. Hey, it's Matt Murphy, and if you've ever noticed how hard it can be to get a right-now appointment for vehicle repair, you understand how frustrating that can be. Some dealers, it can be more than 2 weeks out. Well, what good does that do you? At Euroix, They don't treat you this way. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999, plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car fixed, call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes always says, we'll never be too busy for our customers. We're here to take their pain away right now, and they do it every single day. Eurofix fixes all European cars. They have 5 separate locations and family-owned for 26 years. Call 844-EUROFIX, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Thank you for being around. 38 minutes after the hour. Hope you're doing well. Many of you making way for the weekend. Thank you to all the weekend warriors out there that make our weekends as special as they are. I'm talking about doctors, nurses, police officers, EMTs, the people that keep us safe and sound and are there for us in emergency situations, but also the restaurateurs, the convenience store owners, all of those folks. We invite you we thank you for everything that you do to make our weekends so very special. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. That's the way to get a hold of it. 615-737-9986. You know what time it is? It's 38 minutes after the hour, almost 39 minutes after the hour. It's time for our final edition of the week of Ninkampoops in the News.
Ninkampoops in the news.
All right, this is the way we do it. You know what the news is. You've heard Ken Weaver all week long. You've heard Matt Murphy opine on said same. Now it's time to look around the United States of America, nay, the globe, and find these nincompoops and tell you all about them, and then you get to vote at 615-737-9986 on the Super Text line. So, hello, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing good, boys. How about y'all?
I'm doing great. I'm a little bit disappointed that you haven't offered me any saltine crackers, but that's all right.
I still got 3 sleeves.
Oh, do you now?
Yeah.
All right.
And a banana.
Yeah. He brought him a whole thing of saltine crackers today.
I call it fine dining.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm telling you, Jay's right. A little potted meat and that saltine cracker, that'd be so good.
So you've got 3 sleeves left. Does that mean you ate an entire sleeve today?
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
Yes.
Wow. I'm impressed.
I mean, not even a pause. Not even a pause.
Oh,
this
whole box will be gone by tonight.
Are both the nanners gone?
No.
No, you still got the nanners?
I'm pretty sure that nanner will survive.
Oh, okay. All right.
You want it?
There you go. No, I'm good. I'm good on the nanner. I'm good on the nanner front. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. All right, and then there's Chris Weber. He's behind the glass. Hello.
Hello there.
All right, it's time for Ninkampoops. Who wants to go first? You want to play rock, paper, scissors?
No, I'll just go first.
Okay, well. I mean, I'd do it. But Weber's going to go first.
A Port Orchard, Washington man allegedly violated an order of protection by breaking into his ex-girlfriend's house and then stealing her chicken, according to authorities.
Chicken?
The call for help came in the early morning hours of March 29th from a woman who said her former boyfriend invaded her home and snatched her pet chicken named Polly. He allegedly screamed, "I've got Polly! I've got Polly!" several times before running away, chicken in hand. After a brief but intense search, authorities found the man hiding in the woods. He can be heard yelling on the body cam footage, "Don't hurt my chicken!" As deputies quickly reassured him, "I won't hurt your chicken." The deputies then allowed the man to place Polly safely in a patrol vehicle before taking him into custody and charging him with residential burglary and violating an order of protection. County jail records then showed that the man had only been released from custody less than 3 hours before the incident, according to the sheriff's office. And according to the Kitsap Daily News, he faces a maximum of 10 years in prison after this incident. Como News reports that Polly the chicken has been safely returned to her family.
That's good news.
Oh, little Polly.
Oh, little Polly.
I've got Polly.
I've got
Polly.
Where was this at again, man? Did it say?
Washington.
Polly.
Washington.
I don't know why the Polly the chicken's such a funny name for it. That's a funny name for a chicken.
Now, the question I have is, did he really have that much deep care and feelings for Polly, or did he just know that the ex-girlfriend loved Polly?
I would think the latter, not the former. I think he was just trying to get back at the ex-girlfriend.
But then he's told the deputies, "Don't hurt my chicken." So maybe he thought it was a custody dispute.
Maybe there's a
chicken.
legit chicken dispute here. Maybe, look, this happens with dogs all the time, cats all the time.
I got an easy solution for that. 2 breasts, 2 legs, 2 wings.
Oh, come on.
Yes, sir.
Split her right down.
Well, you and I would do that, but
you might say Polly was used as a pawn.
I see. That's why I would never have a pet chicken.
Well, I would. I'd love to have a pet chicken.
What?
How long would you keep it?
Oh, I'd keep it as long as it would live.
Ed Weaver's a fun.
I love chicken.
I'd never have. I would.
I absolutely despise chickens.
Really?
I worked at a hardware store once when I was in college, and they had chickens. They would sell chickens, to.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I had to feed them, and they're just filthy, pecking, just idiots.
Little peckers.
I'm trying to feed them, and they're
little peckers.
You're pecking me. I'm trying to feed you.
You're literally pecking the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
I hate chickens.
Do you eat chicken?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's delicious.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm looking,
I wouldn't eat my chicken.
Like your pet chicken.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat.
Well, see, but how could you look your pet chicken in the beak if you're eating
while you're gnawing on
a chicken leg?
Hell, I'll give her a bite.
Oh, Ken.
Yeah,
there's that. That's
she'd
too
take
much.
a bite too.
I bet she would. I bet chickens would eat chicken.
Yeah,
I have no doubt about that. Ken Weaver.
Yes, sir.
You're a nincompoop, sir.
Naked Nebraska man arrested after pumping gas without paying. A Nebraska man was arrested Friday morning after exposing himself in public. The Nance County Sheriff's Office received reports just before 9 a.m. of a man acting suspiciously near a Dollar General, which is 60 miles northeast of Grand Island, Nebraska. This is in Genoa, Nebraska. The man had entered the store naked from the waist down. Shortly after that, he was spotted pumping gas at the Pump and Pantry in Genoa.
Oh.
Still naked.
From the waist down.
Drove off without paying for $19 worth of gas. Multiple witnesses at both locations told deputies that, yes, we saw everything in plain view. Everything from the waist down.
Like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, this...
Apparently,
sorry, kid.
Was Piglet accompanying him?
Oh, Winnie.
Oh,
Eeyore.
Well, this fellow was arrested on 2 counts of indecent exposure, 1 count of theft by unlawful taking less than $500. All 3 counts are misdemeanors.
I like how he was wearing a shirt. I bet he was wearing shoes, too, just because he wanted to follow the law. I'm sure it had a sign on the door.
Sure.
You know, shirt, no shoes, no service. So
Yeah, but it doesn't say a word about pants.
Did not.
You know, it always confused me why Donald Duck would get in a bathing suit.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
he would.
You don't have any drawers on.
Right.
You've got feathers.
Yeah.
But then if he went to go swimming, he would get in a bathing suit.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Even
not
when I was
naked.
a kid, it would confuse me.
That is that's a pondering thought there.
That's what your story inspired me to think there, Ken Weaver.
All right.
I got one, too. Look, I don't care how upset you get on an airplane. It is never, take it from Matt Murphy, never a good idea to grab the twig and berries of the flight attendant.
Ooh. I bet you it's not.
A 64-year-old licensed practical nurse is facing federal charges after she allegedly grabbed a flight attendant's genitalia while traveling from Las Vegas to North Dakota. Jody Lynn Sherry Berg. Jody Lynn? You grabbing on his junk again? Jody Lynn Sherry Berg, and that's a hyphenated name, was arrested Tuesday on 1 count of interference with flight crew members, according to federal court documents reviewed by The Independent. The altercation occurred January 16th aboard an Allegiant Air flight from Harry Reid International Airport to Grand Forks International Airport, stating that an indictment unsealed April 8th in Minnesota federal court. Sherry Berg, a Minnesota resident, quote, did knowingly interfere with the performance of the duties of a male flight attendant, identified in court filings only as JM, when she, quote, assaulted JM by grabbing JM's genitals. Attorney Jean Brandt, public defender assigned to represent Sherry Berg at her court appearance, said that she was not at liberty to speak about the case. She declined to provide details about what led up to the altercation, and Allegiant Airlines spokesperson did not respond to a request for comment either. A fellow traveler, however, captured cell phone video of Ms. Sherry Berg, a.k.a. Jody Lynn. Jody Lynn, twice grabbing the flight attendant's crotch area.
Yeah.
According to North Dakota NBC affiliate KVLY, their report at the time, she was arrested upon landing at Grand Forks Police by Grand Forks Police on 1 count of providing false information to law enforcement. According to a probable cause affidavit, she first gave responding officers a fake name. Why would you're on an air?
I bet it was still hyphenated.
Yeah, she probably just gave another real long name.
The name was Alyssa Hoverson.
Alyssa.
How do you come up? She probably knows someone with that name, right? You don't make a name like that up.
Jody Lynn Sherryberg.
Or that.
A search of her belongings turned up her driver's license that revealed her true identity. State charges dropped, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, she's got to appear in federal court for interfering with a flight official because she grabbed him by the Franken beans.
I'm going to be relieving her public defender of his or her duties, and I will be representing Miss Jody Lynn in this case. You said she's a nurse?
She is. She's practical.
She was simply providing a complimentary physical examination
yes, sir.
On board flight.
Yeah, what is missing?
Simple misunderstanding.
Yeah, what is missing from this, Judge, is she asked him to cough.
If you review the tape.
So how sad is it when I saw this story, I went through the story twice to try to figure out, I just wanted to know, was this in anger?
Right, yeah, why?
Or was she
just curious,
attempting to,
want to see what he was working with?
Maybe kind of a romantic, let's see what Melba Toast is packing over here. I don't know. I just, I would just, maybe she's mad. Maybe she's interested in a
frisky.
Well, I mean, the flight was from Las Vegas.
True
Good
that.
point.
True that. but it was going to North Dakota.
Right. Well, she just,
Well, she didn't get lucky on the slot machine.
She
so
just figured she was still on vacay until wheels down.
she wanted to give that old handle one more pull.
That's how we
Oh, the one-arm bandit. That's how we play Ninkampoops in the news. You may vote, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. I think Weber might have inadvertently helped me.
Yes, sir.
With the one-liner. That's pretty good stuff. 9 until the top of the hour. We continue on The Murphy Show after this. Let me explain to you how some other folks deal with it in the safe business. Now, Nashville Safe House has plenty of safes on display in their showroom. Nashville Safe House has plenty of safes in their warehouse. They have probably as many as 500 at any given time and as much as 600 in certain times of year. Nashville Safe House is the largest Browning dealer in the United States of America, not just in Tennessee, but in the U.S. They have rebates of up to $400. But here's the deal. They have certified delivery crews that work for Nashville Safe House. Sadly, some of the other guys, they hire out that delivery, and they don't know these people either. You're letting people that are unknown, not just to you, but from the company that you bought from inside of your home, and they're setting up your safe? Let's not do it this way, folks. Don't let just anyone deliver your safe. Have a certified delivery crew from Nashville Safe House do it. Don't miss the special event through April 15th, offering you rebates of up to $400. And remember, sales tax free on gun safes at Nashville Safe House. Huge savings on select models. It's all happening at Nashville Safe House, celebrating their 33rd year in the safe and vault business across the street from City Cemetery. It's Nashville Safe House.
State lawmakers moving toward banning hemp flower because when you smoke it, the level of THC that gets you high exceeds the legal federal limit. These stories and more at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The House of Representatives passed the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act, yesterday, which would require documentary proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote for federal elections. Final vote was 220 to 208. One Democrat absent due to medical issues. 4 Democrats voted with the Republicans in support of the bill. 4 Republicans chose not to vote. While non-citizens are prohibited from voting in federal, state, and most local election, municipalities in California, Maryland, and Vermont, as well as Washington, D.C., allow non-citizens to vote in local elections. The SAVE Act would amend the 1993 National Voter Registration Act, also called the Motor Voter Law, which would make states require documentation of a person's U.S. citizenship before registering to vote in federal elections. And it would also ensure that states remove non-citizens from their voting rolls. Sadly, what's happened is that leftists in the national media are trying to confuse voters as to exactly what this would do. Matter of fact, there was confusion in the White House today as several reporters were asking the question of Caroline Leavitt as to exactly what this would do with regard to women's rights to vote. Yes, they actually attempted to suggest that this would curtail a woman's right to vote because females who have their, it's all about married status and their married name. Listen to Caroline Leavitt bat down and clean up liberal lies about the same.
Yesterday the House passed the SAVE Act, and many married women, soon to be married women, are concerned that the new voter ID requirements may...
by the way, if you're listening to this woman, many married women and many soon-to-be married women are concerned about this. It's not true. It's not true. Married women or soon-to-be married women have not reached out to this reporter. I love to point this out because it's so gross. They pretend... Oh, many of our viewers are very concerned about this. Oh, we've been several people have reached out to us about. No, they haven't. It's like these talking heads, these liberal talking heads are always with the. Well, some are saying, really? Some are saying, who's saying? You're saying. What? Just take ownership of it, lady. Some are saying that this might cause harm to people. Who? Who's saying? Are you saying? Who's saying?
And many married women, soon to be married women, are concerned that the new voter ID requirements may inhibit their access to the polls. What assurances can you give women voters in America to ease their concerns?
Sure. Well, the SAVE Act, as you mentioned, was passed by the House yesterday. This is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. I believe I'm getting that correct. And this act is a common sense measure. It would require proof of citizenship for voting in our elections. The Democrats have been fear-mongering about this bill, have been saying that married women, if their name has changed, they didn't change it on their identification, would not be able to vote. That is complete fallacy. There are outlined in the bill about how to avoid that. The president very much supports a common sense solution to ensuring that only citizens can engage in our elections. This is critical to improving the integrity of our elections and also the trust that American citizens need to have in our electoral process. So the president supports this bill, and that is a myth that has been proven wrong by the text of this bill. And I believe some of the co-sponsors of the bill have been very vocal in addressing that. And certainly I myself, as a married woman, would not stand before this podium if the president did not support such a common sense measure.
I mean, yeah, just bat down these nonsensical claims. I mean, there are people that are concerned that because they got married, that there was also a false claim rolling around the internet that you were going to have to bring your Social Security card and your birth certificate to vote. None of that's true. These are ways that you have an ability to vote if you don't have a photo ID. These are other alternative measures in order to vote to ensure your right to vote. More on this coming up in a moment. It's 6:01 on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Tennessee hemp growers say a bill advancing in the General Assembly is likely to put them out of business. The House passed a bill yesterday that bans hemp flower because when you smoke it, the level of THC that gets you high goes beyond what federal law allows.
That is the new federal standard. Total THC less than 0.3%. That's the standard. These businesses you've heard talked about today have gambled on a product that is federally illegal.
The Senate still has to vote on the legislation, which must match the House bill before it moves to Governor Bill Lee's desk to be signed into law. An immigration judge in Louisiana today ruled that Columbia University activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported on grounds that he threatens foreign policy, as alleged by the Trump administration. But reporter Armando Garcia says Khalil can't appeal.
The judge here today gave his immigration legal team about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, to file any motion for additional relief, to decide whether or not they want to appeal that decision. So that's still going to process. But now, really, eyes are on that New Jersey court and see what they rule as far as relief.
Here's what happened today in the hearing in the case of the Maryland man the government wrongly deported to El Salvador.
Clearly frustrated by a lack of answers from the government, federal judge Paula Sinise says she'll now require daily updates in writing about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's whereabouts and the administration's efforts to facilitate his return. The judge called those basic questions, but Justice Department lawyer Drew Ensign said he wasn't prepared to answer them. The judge said she wasn't asking for state secrets, just for the status of one man, whom the government acknowledges it shouldn't have sent to El Salvador.
Let's check on those tariffs.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. Uncertainty over tariffs leading to more sell-offs today. The trade battle between the U.S. and China escalating, with 125% hikes on U.S. imports now set to kick in tomorrow. The White House signaling it's waiting for Beijing to reach out for talks. ABC's Karen Travers says any deal with China appears to be far off.
These are very complex conversations that take place anytime a U.S. president meets with the president of China. When Trump and Xi, or when Biden and Xi have met before, it was months in the making, just for a sit-down meeting, just for a phone call. So this is not necessarily a pick up the phone and chat and try to work this out. There would be a lot that would go into it, and the White House is very much indicating they're waiting for their phone to ring from China.
In the last 6 days, the S&P, where Americans have their 401ks and retirement accounts, it's lost nearly $3.5 trillion.
Well, no sell-off today. Stocks ended higher. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Berry Hill, police reporting a crash 65 northbound after I-440. Over here on the South Loop, got 40 westbound near 4th Avenue. Police reporting a crash. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's a very rare occurrence, but Matt Murphy won Ninkampoops in the news tonight.
You're welcome.
But everyone that voted for me, almost everyone that voted for me, offered the comment that Weber gave the assist.
I'll take
it. Weber with the assist. Goal, Ninkampoop Murphy. Male flight attendant. No, I'm not going to read that. Matt, got to pre-read these things, man. Matt wins with an assist going to Weber, it says. And then 8230 says, and I'm not going to explain this. I'm just going to read it. At least they didn't choke Polly.
Oh.
It's too easy.
Yeah.
It's just too easy.
Yeah. I thought about that.
Mm-hmm. I did too, but I didn't want to. It was low-hanging fruit, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Fruit was too low there. Any big plans for this weekend, by the way? Anybody? Hanging?
Nope.
Nothing?
No, not really.
Not a bunch of nothing?
Yeah, just going to be hanging out with my family.
I'm going to be cutting the grass.
Oh, are you?
Or as, my grandpa always said, that's, if you said it in French, it's mow the lawn.
Mow the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
What about Gary?
Oh, Gary will be all right. Gary gets plenty. Gary and Jeannie get plenty of carrots, Ken.
Okay.
Plenty of carrots. Although we did see, we were worried about him. I think Jeannie is childbirthing.
Really?
Probably.
Special time.
Haven't, yeah.
How many do they push out?
I don't know. I don't know how many we're talking about. I don't know, but I'd love to get me a little baby groundhog.
How many babies do groundhogs have?
Oh, there you go. There you go. Get on top of this story.
Our intrepid
news reporter has the answer.
Woo, 2-6, Brother Murphy.
2-6. Two little Murphys running around the backyard.
You ought to see this little fella I'm looking at right now.
I bet he's cute.
Yeah, this lady's got him wrapped up in a towel.
Oh,
he's asleep.
Oh, that's so sweet. I think them babies will probably just stay right underneath the backyard shed. At least I hope. I believe Miss Beasley has managed to run off the cat, though.
Oh, she has.
Good Lord.
Good for her.
Good. I mean, well, Miss Beasley, the fear is that if there are groundhog babies and then the groundhog babies do come out, and then groundhog babies are not as fast as groundhog mama and groundhog daddy.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean?
They might be tastier.
Mm-hmm. And they might be nice and tasty and have a nice crunch to them, and we don't need all of that.
No, don't need that.
Thank you to Chris Weber for the assist on the Ninkampoops in the news story.
Anytime.
We do appreciate that. All right, so a couple of things to get to before we say goodbye and call it a weekend. There is a call, to pause Tennessee executions. When's the last time we had an execution in the state of Tennessee? It's been a minute. Before my time here.
That's a good question.
So apparently it was paused in Tennessee. The death row is obviously death row is always reserved for those who commit the most heinous of crimes. And we paused executions in 2022. I guess this was right as I was entering the state, just an hour before there was an execution slated to take place. At the time, Governor Bill Lee stated that he believed there was an oversight in preparation for lethal injection. This was happening all across the United States. So many states went to lethal injection because they thought it was a preferred method of execution because it was less cruel or less painful or more humane or whatever you might call it. for me, dead is dead, and these individuals that have been convicted of murdering others on death row did not take into consideration the manner in which they were killing their victims. And I think we already bend over backwards to make sure that they don't experience any undue pain at such time as we put them to death per a jury instruction of their peers. According to the Tennessee Department of Corrections, it changed its protocol after 2022 after an uproar grew as a review found state officials had failed to properly test its lethal injection cocktail. Once again, we get into the weeds and the details on this cocktail of do they actually pass out when they get the first injection? Do they not pass out when they get the first injection? Do they feel pain? Do they not feel pain? I mean, I feel like at some point we're just arguing with people that don't believe in capital punishment. At some point, we're arguing with folks that, left to their own devices, would not allow any sort of executions in the state of Tennessee. Why are we arguing with those people? Those of us who believe that there are some crimes so heinous, so against humanity, so against our civilized society that the only appropriate punishment, this is not about vengeance necessarily, it's not about revenge. It's about appropriate punishment. And there are some crimes so heinous that the only appropriate punishment is capital punishment. However, we wait way too long in order to do this. If I had my way, this is one way that I would grow government, and I've said this for years. I can't think of a lot of ways that I would be willing to grow government, but here's one way. I would empower a panel of 3 appellate judges to sit on every capital murder case. In other words, you have your capital murder cases, right? And they know, on the front end if it is a capital murder case and if the prosecution is going to seek the death penalty. You get that out of the way on the front end. And so you have a trial judge who's there, and you have the jury, and all of the normal proceedings go as planned. You have 3 appellate judges that sit and observe the case in real time. And in the aftermath of the case, if there is a conviction and if there is a sentence of death, that appellate panel is immediately ready to review any and all appeals that might come from the individual who was convicted, their legal team. And they will be better prepared to adjudicate that situation and to clear all appeals and to do what is necessary. I think it would speed it up by 5 years. By 5 years. If you have a panel of judges that sit and watch the case in real time, so they don't have to review the transcript, they don't have to review the evidence, they don't have to review any of the materials, they've witnessed all of this in real time, and they can immediately, in real time, within a matter of weeks, they can determine whether or not any of these appeals have merit. And then if you appeal that 3-judge panel, it goes immediately to the Tennessee Supreme Court. You skip every other court proceeding and go immediately to the Tennessee Supreme Court. You have 2 opportunities, 2 bites at the apple. And if you fail in those bites at the apple, if you want to try to transfer it over to the federal system for some federal cause, have at it. We don't have any control over that. I do believe that it would speed up the system quite a bit. Secondarily, I understand people that don't believe the state should have enough power to kill human beings. I understand you. I disagree with you, but I understand you. And that's a legitimate debate to have, whether or not we should empower the state to have that authority or that ability. But this whole nonsense about debating the method of execution and whether this thing is humane or that thing is humane, I don't have a problem doing it in the most humane way possible. But you know what? I also don't have a problem with what South Carolina did the other day. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. You want death by firing squad? Okay, we'll give you death by firing squad. So be it. We'll try to make sure that we shoot straight, aim right. Lethal injection, the entire premise was to try to figure out a better and more humane way. And now those that are against capital punishment are using lethal injection against those of us who believe in capital punishment, they're using it against us. Y'all understand that, right? They are getting down in the weeds and going, oh, well, this drug is not good and this drug is not good and doctors shouldn't administer this drug, and they're going after the pharmaceutical companies and preventing them from giving you this drug or that drug. Just go back to the electric chair. Be done with it. Or any other form of execution for that matter. Be done with it. I like to remind folks of the heinous nature of the crime. I don't like to. I take that back. But I am compelled to remind people of the heinous nature of the crimes that these individuals had to commit against other people without consideration for their feelings, without consideration for humanity, and without consideration for their pain. And when it comes time, I'm going to do it for you. I bring up the original case and we talk about the nature of the crime, not because it gives me any pleasure, because we need to be reminded, because these mainstream media outlets, they seem to focus on the criminal at the time of the death penalty as opposed to focusing on where they should, which is the victim or victims or the victims' families. Brent is in Spring Hill. Hello, Brent. How are you?
Hey, Matt, you kind of addressed my thing that you understand where people don't like to put that power in the state's hands because the state messes up a lot. I'm not going to quibble over dead. Dead is dead. But I'm also going to say, if you mess up, that's not a problem that, you can fix after dead.
No, 100%. No, I get it. I am more inclined to be confident in the death penalty nowadays that we have DNA testing, which in so many ways is so irrefutable. I do believe that if you're going to have a capital murder case, you need to have physical evidence along the lines of DNA. We need to have certain levels of assurances because you're right. I mean, there's no question that the state in the past, a state has screwed up. And I don't have any doubt that over our span of time, Brent, that someone has killed, some state has killed someone that was innocent of the crimes that they were accused of. And obviously, you can't come back from that and you want to prevent it. And I understand the generalized argument that we should not want a state or a government at all powerful enough to kill a human being. So, I mean, I certainly get the argument. Thank you, Brent, for the call. I hope I didn't prematurely. I hope that was not a premature caller ejection. Be very embarrassing if it were. Steven's on the road, wants to talk tariffs. We'll do that in just a moment. We'll also talk about RFK. It's a story that I've wanted to get into all day, and I haven't been able to yet. The nation's top health agency is going to undertake a massive testing and research effort with regard to autism. And I don't pretend to understand a lot about this story, but I don't believe the government can do anything by September. And they say they're going to do this entire thing by September. I'll tell you what it is in a moment on Super Talk. Hey, friends, the Glock store has a date. I'm very excited about it. I wanted to share it with you. So I know it's April 11th, and I know we got plenty of time in April before we get to May, and then we've got plenty of time in May before we get to May 31st. But on Saturday, May 31st, the Glock store is having their big 5th anniversary Nashville open house, and I cannot wait to spend it with you. I want you to save the date because it's going to be a big deal. If you're a gun enthusiast or you want to be a gun enthusiast, if you have owned many, many Glocks and different types of handguns and long guns over the course of your life, or if you want to learn, if you just want to be able to sign up and have the possibility of winning incredible prizes, or if you want to meet Dan Mandis or Chris Hand or Matt Murphy, you can do all of these things simultaneously at the 5th annual Nashville open house at the Glock store. All right, obviously, we're going to continue to have details coming in as time ticks away, but last year they gave over $15,000 away worth of great gun gear, things like red dot optics and the like. They also gave away a customized Glock worth over $1,800. $1,800 Glock. They gave it away. And word is, rumor has it on the street, they're going to be giving away more than just one Glock this year. Multiple Glocks will be on the table for giveaway at the Glock Store's open house. So May 31st from 10 until 2, mark your calendar. It's at the Glock Store on Air Lane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike, minutes away from the airport. Worth the drive from anywhere. It's the Glock Store.
Tennessee lawmakers getting closer to restricting the type of hemp products you'll be able to buy legally here in the state of Tennessee. That's coming up at 6:30 along with the closing money news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ken Weaver, I have a quick question asked by a loyal listener.
Okay.
And I know that you have an answer.
We'll see.
When we talk about hemp flower,
yeah,
is that FLOWER or FLOUR?
That is FLOWER.
So it is a flower.
Yeah, it is a flower.
Oh, okay.
Or it's the bud.
Ooh, well, I mean, that's something different, I thought.
Yeah, they just call it a flower.
Sticky bud. Okay. Well, I didn't know anything about it, and I knew that you would. I mean, someone said I would have bet that it was the other thing, but I guess I would have been wrong. All right. It was Spring Hill Cougar.
Spring Hill Cougar.
Who said, is this a ban on hemp flower or hemp flower?
I don't know of any hemp flower. I know about hemp flower, but I don't know about hemp flower.
I figured you knew about hemp flower, but I don't know if there is a hemp flower.
I bet there is hemp flower.
Really?
I bet you there is.
Boy, if they find that out, they're going to try to ban that too.
You could bake some real nice goodies.
A lot of people eating sandwiches.
I remember back in college, the hemp butter. Y'all remember
Hemp butter. Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I read about it. I read about that in a magazine somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Maybe on a flight from Las Vegas.
Well, I mean, there's nothing else to do. That fellow had already ducked and covered. Stephen is next on the road. Hello, Stephen. How are you?
Hey, pretty good, sir. Thanks, man. Great show. Been listening all day. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to get your thoughts. I mean, on this Chinese tariffs, what we're looking at now. I mean, well, first the question is, do you think Trump? Do you think he planned for this 90-day pause? Is that part of the plan, or do you think he just had to react to how the mainstream media was reacting?
Well, according to Trump himself and according to members of his cabinet, it was the plan all along. I think Scott Bessent said it, that it was that he told him that the plan all along was to draw out who wanted to come to the table and work with the Trump administration and work with the United States of America to create better deals, to see ultimately who our friends were, and then and simultaneously to isolate China as a tariff enemy around the world.
That's what I was thinking. He put China in check, and he's getting ready to. I think what he's getting ready to do is put him in checkmate when he comes out talking about the oil and the deals that he's made and the oil that we're going to be bringing in. I just think it's amazing. That's what I was leaning toward anyway. I didn't hear that news, but I just kind of am watching everything, and it seems like what he did was he came out back in February or March, and he announced this April the 2nd deal that he was going to do, and it pretty much sent everybody into a frenzy. And so what he did was he used the mainstream media as pawns to essentially, because he knows China's watching everything we do, right? They watch our mainstream media, and they was reacting to what the mainstream media was saying and doing. And so, but all these other countries need our market too. They need to trade with us, and they want our market too. So I think what we're getting ready to see is checkmate coming up next with the oil and the energy, because China is going to really not be able to make it through if they don't have the oil and the energy that they need, especially going into the future.
Well, it remains to be seen. I don't know that necessarily economic checkmate is around the corner anytime soon. China is no doubt a huge economic, well, really a superpower on the global stage. America is the premier economic superpower on the global stage, but China is one. They use this pseudo form of the free market by using slave-like labor to accomplish the cheap production and the cheap manufacturing of goods. But in doing so, they have appealed to a lot of different businesses around the globe to come to China to aid them in manufacturing those goods. And when you go and you make a deal with the devil, well, I mean, Kevin O'Leary talked about this the other day. We played the clip where you make a deal with the devil and ultimately, you get screwed. I mean, it's kind of like making a deal with the mafia. They agree to take care of you and do what they say they're going to do, and then when they don't do what they say they're going to do, what do you do about it? I mean, there's nothing you can. So they ultimately agree to manufacture your goods, and then they promptly steal your intellectual property, manufacture it at a lower rate, and undercut you by selling it at a cheaper rate by a different brand name or whatever. I mean, they do it all the time in China. And Kevin O'Leary spoke about this very intelligently because they've done it to him. They've done it to him. Real quick, 87, I just want to vote on this before we do the news. 8726 on the super text line says, flour is a one-syllable word, but flour is a two-syllable word.
What?
Well, flour is a one-syllable word, but flour is a don't look at me. It's 8726.
I think they've been smoking some flour.
Yeah. Either that or
they've been heating up their flour.
They've been heating up their flour.
I think flour.
It's not flour. Flour.
Flour. It's flour.
Which one are you saying?
I don't know what I'm saying.
which the hell? What are we?
What did you boys do during that last break?
Is it 7 o'clock yet? I hope so.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Tennessee lawmakers just a few votes away from banning hemp flower because when you smoke it, the level of THC that gets you high exceeds the federal allowable limit of 0.3%. Now, this bill's already passed the House. The next stop is for the state Senate to pass its version. And if they both match up, they'll go to the governor and he can sign it. An immigration judge ruled Friday that Columbia University activist Mahmoud Halil can be deported on grounds that he threatens foreign policy, as alleged by the Trump administration, but he can appeal. And the Justice Department's been ordered by a judge to give daily written updates as to the progress of returning Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man the government says it wrongly deported to El Salvador because of alleged MS-13 gang ties. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
After a historic and chaotic week of ups and downs, stocks closed higher as President Trump in the White House appears optimistic that a deal with China could be on the horizon. The Dow closing 619 points up, the S&P closing ahead 95 points, and the Nasdaq gained 337 points. Consumer sentiment in the U.S. fell 11% this month as Americans begin to brace themselves for a possible recession and growing worries about a trade war from President Trump's tariffs. This is the fourth straight month consumer sentiment has reported a loss. The USDA reports the national average wholesale price of eggs fell 18 cents, or 6% per dozen last week, as grocery stores continue to recoup stocks from the bird flu outbreak. General Motors is laying off 200 employees at the company's all-electric plant in Detroit to align with market dynamics as the company pivots to light-duty truck production.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. I don't see a lot of problems out there at all. Looks like a crash is still being reported by police, 65 northbound near Old Hickory Boulevard in Madison. We've got 40 westbound near 4th Avenue and then 65 northbound after I-440. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Have I ever mentioned that Mark at Nashville Safe House was a pilot? He is, or was. I don't know if that's a past tense or present tense, but one way or the other, he opened Nashville Safe House 33 years ago and created the premier safe and vault business in the state of Tennessee, and I would suggest the United States of America, because he recognized that there was a gap in the market. There were not people selling quality home safes, gun safes, high-security safes, and vault doors in this area at reasonable prices. There was not a place that had the selection that he believed that you ought to have, and so he filled that void. And Nashville Safe House has grown like gangbusters since then. For 33 years, they've been doing it the right way. They have over 200 safes in their display showroom. They have another 3 or plus hundred in their warehouse. They have the right safe for you. Don't forget, April 15th is the cutoff date for these incredible $400 rebates on select models, and gun safes are always sales tax free. Thank you to the Nashville Safe House. And the only certified delivery crews in the business can be found at Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com to see the incredible selection for yourself, or go by and see them in person on 4th Avenue South, there across from City Cemetery. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Mark and the team at Nashville Safe House. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy and the Dr. Poss and Dr. McLaclin Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. They want to see you, especially if you're one of the many men or women in the listening audience that have trouble sleeping and you don't know why. Do you wake up in the middle of the night? Is it possible that you have sleep apnea? If you don't know, it's time to get a sleep test. And if you get a sleep test and you find out you do, it's time to contact Dr. McLaclin, Dr. Poss, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Did you know, for example, they're in network with BCBS, that's Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and Medicare. They're a preferred provider with TRICARE for the military, and they work with the Veterans Administration as well. They have 2 locations to serve you. One's in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro. Friends, the Dr. Poss system is simple. They create a mouthpiece, an FDA-approved mouthpiece that goes in your mouth. You sleep with it, and it keeps that airway open. That helps you breathe throughout the course of the night. That better airway prevents snoring, and it helps you sleep through the night, giving you more energy tomorrow morning. The Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center, they continue to grow. Dr. Brian McLaclin, Dr. Stephen Poss want to see you. Go to drposs.com. That's drposs.com for the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. It is my understanding that flower has 2 syllables, also known as syllables. And so many of you have alerted me to this. As a matter of fact, I'll read a selection of the super texts. Tell me where you draw the line to divide flower into 2 syllables. Well, see, here's the thing, 8726. According to flour is 1 syllable. That the white stuff that we use to bake deliciousness, that is a 1-syllable word. According to those that are suggesting that this is true, flower is 2 syllables, but that feels weird the way that I just said it. Does that not sound weird? Flower.
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 Flower?
Flower.
It's 2 syllables.
It is 2 syllables.
Flower. Flower. Flower.
Oh, so are you saying that both of them are 2 syllables?
Absolutely, yeah. They're pronounced, the word is said the exact same way.
Flyer.
Yeah, if you want to say flyer, then that's 1 syllable, I guess.
See, I was so wrong with it. I was thinking that flower was all just 1 syllable. Both words were 1 syllable. It didn't even occur to me that both words could be 2 syllables. According to most of you, both words have 2 syllables. And 8726 is congratulating themselves for providing this delicious content to my show, and I thank you for that. How many syllables in flower? 1 syllable. How many? I don't know how to say it to make it sound differently than flower.
That's because it doesn't sound different.
Aren't these words pronounced exactly the same way?
Yes. I mean, if you want to be grammatically correct, yes, they are.
Dan says there's no W in flower, so it's 1 syllable.
It's an interesting argument.
Okay, I mean, if that's the hill you want to die on, so be it. Nashville is experiencing an exodus of people, according to Ben Cunningham, who's made several appearances on our show. He is a tax expert and watcher. Ben Cunningham, founder of the Nashville Tea Party, said that people are fleeing Nashville in droves over compounded tax increases implemented in recent years and the forthcoming increases expected under the current mayor. I've been trying to keep you aware of this. If you live in Davidson County, if you work in Davidson County, if you have any friends in Davidson County, understand this. Your taxes are about to go up. Noting Nashville's largest property tax increase in the city's history of 34% in 2020, Cunningham said Mayor Freddie O'Connell is now planning another 20% increase or more, according to him, all while the mayor campaigned on building in Nashville for Nashvillians to keep people from moving out of the city. According to the Tennessee Star, and I'm reading from the Tennessee Star here, Cunningham said the compounded tax increases are why people are leaving Nashville for nearby conservative counties. Memphis and Nashville, the two blue areas in Tennessee, are experiencing the same thing, which is net domestic out-migration. People moving out of Davidson County. People are moving out of Shelby County. You know, I wonder if – I don't know that I would consider moving it. I mean, there are portions of Davidson County that I would like to live in. But I don't know, given the leadership of the city of Nashville and by extension Davidson County, that I would move here. I'm not even necessarily what the tax rates are now, but as Cunningham says, you never know when the tax rates are going up. And it appears that Freddie O'Connell, and we've been talking about this for some time, it appears that Freddie O'Connell is bound and determined to raise them. Now, he has not made a determination as of yet. But let's just look at the evidence before us. Yes, there was a 34% increase in 2020. However, Freddie O'Connell focused like a laser beam on getting this transit tax through. And the transit tax and the full implementation of what they wanted to do with that transit plan has to do with finding federal dollars. And there was an expectation that, Donald Trump would lose to Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, whoever it was. And there would be plenty of federal money flowing into the very bright blue city of Nashville, Tennessee. Well, Donald Trump's president. Joe Biden's not. Kamala Harris is not. And as a result of Joe Biden losing and Kamala Harris losing and Donald Trump winning, and as a result of his plan to implement drastic cuts to our over-bloated federal budget, a lot of those grant dollars are going away, and O'Connell knows that. And already I believe he is laying the groundwork, laying the tracks to blame all of this on Donald Trump. Just watch it happen, friends. Now, when O'Connell was on our show last, and I think it was right at the beginning of the year, he said, I asked him about property tax increases. He said, Matt, this is a reassessment year, and on a reassessment year, it's time to reassess whether or not the tax rates are appropriate. And that would include assessing the rate itself and seeing if we're consistent with surrounding. I mean, it was a lot of gobbledygook, a lot of blah, blah, blah political speak, indicating to me that, yes, indeed, they're about to start raising your taxes again with property tax increases. What I have heard, the scuttlebutt around the campfire, was that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 or 20% even. Ben Cunningham suggests that it could be even more than that. And possibly he's correct. I understand that there's a consternation amongst people who are within the Davidson County limits. Rebecca says the problem with this is the smart conservatives are moving out. That leaves the dummies still voting, the Democrat mayors who want to tax your bleep off. Well, it's true. I thought Alice Rowley gave it a good shot the last time around, and I was a supporter of Alice Rowley's. And frankly, there are some things that I would give Freddie O'Connell the benefit of the doubt on, but he's just made too many poor decisions over the last calendar year, and Freddie O'Connell doesn't seem to be able to handle more than one deal at the same time. You can't manage license plate readers and FUSIS at the same time. He claims he can't. You can't manage a transit tax and whether or not you're going to raise property taxes at the same time. He doesn't seem to think he can. Oh, we want to focus on this thing or that thing. Can't make a decision about the Fairground Speedway either because he's in the pocket of John Ingram, sadly. And John Ingram, it's my understanding, is holding money over the city's head with regard to quote-unquote affordable housing as to whether or not they're going to put the new charter plan up before the people to vote on it. That charter plan would ultimately decide whether or not they would remove racing from the Metro Council charter. And if they do that, the racetrack is toast. Absolute toast. So just wanted to make you aware that, yes, Ben Cunningham and others, and we'll have Ben back on the show very soon, we're aware that the property taxes are soon to go up in Davidson County. They've not made that announcement, and they would deny that they have finalized that decision. But don't let those denials fool you. Unless you say something, unless there is a pushback on this, unless we demand more out of Davidson County and the city of Nashville, property taxes are sadly going to go up. In the meantime, there is a robust debate going on our platform, Super Text line, 615-737-9986, about flour.
Still talking about this, huh?
1162. Flour has one syllable. Flour has two syllables. It has to do with the vowels. Well, someone needs to tell me how they're pronounced differently.
All right, let's pull this.
I mean, are you going to do the pronunciation guide? You do that while I I give you some more. 3879 says, discussed in Quora, both flour and flower are two-syllable words. 3067 says, I'm a teacher. If you look up the word online in a dictionary website, it should also give you the number of syllables. A syllable must contain at least one vowel. A lot of times the vowel is a vowel team. Hour is considered in the controlled vowel. What? Oh, hour is considered our controlled vowel. This doesn't make any sense. Flower is two syllables because the vowels are separated by a consonant. Oh, flower. Flower and flower are pronounced exactly the same, I thought.
All right. I've got dictionary.com pulled up.
Okay, don't tell me which one you're doing, and I'll tell you which one I think it is.
All right, here's the first one.
Flower.
That's the plant.
All right, and here's the second one.
Flower.
One more time.
Flower. Flower.
Yeah.
Those are the same one. You're doing the same one.
I am not. This is Flour.
Flower.
And this is Flower.
Flower.
Okay, they both have two syllables.
And the phonetic little description of the pronunciation is exactly the same for both words.
Well, there you go. I mean, and that is, what is that? You pull that up on the Funkin' Wagnalls?
That's dictionary.com.
Dictionary.com. I'm going to believe dictionary.com. I have a great clip to leave you with from Bernie Sanders over the years talking about oligarchs. That's a fun one. We might be able to play another clip let's see what we can get into. It's 48, almost 49 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're going to wrap it up and call it a weekend in a moment. Friends, one word that comes to mind when you think about Genesis Diamonds is the word integrity. It's a company built on a solid foundation with total transparency and honesty right there in its name, Genesis Diamonds. Now, let me tell you, this is why they don't have commissioned salespeople. They pay their employees. They don't believe you should pay their employees. They're not under any pressure to sell you anything, which is a good news for you. They're just there to help you figure out what you want for that loved one in your life. Secondarily, they share with you the secrets of the diamond buying industry, teaching you tricks to maximize the value of your purchase. And thirdly, there are no pricing games at Genesis Diamonds. When they have a sale, it's the real deal. It's not a phony event, and we're lucky to have them here in Nashville. They're not another big box cookie cutter store. They are special. They are the real deal. They're locally owned with international connections that guarantee no middleman pricing on their diamond buying, and they pass those savings along to you. That's the bottom line. You'll love the experience there. Trust me. I know I do, and you will too. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Stop by and tell them that Matt Murphy sent you to Genesis Diamonds. What is waterproofing? You know, we talk about USS, United Structural Systems, all the time. We talk about, you know, making sure that your foundation is what it should be. We talk about the waterproofing, but we don't really talk about what waterproofing is. I mean, it's a simple process of protecting your basement, your crawl space, your home from water damage. Yes, frankly, folks, every home is threatened by this in the state of Tennessee, and we've noticed this over the last couple of weeks, right? All of this rain has to go somewhere, and if it's going inside of your home and you're allowing it to get in there, if you're not encapsulating your basement or your crawl space, not doing the things necessary to keep that water out, water is tenacious. It's going to find a way in, and it can do significant damage as a result, not just to your home, but also to your health. Let's get with it. Let's get with USS, United Structural Systems. They have over almost 30,000 satisfied testimonials and customers over the last 30-plus years. That's an incredible testimony to the way that they do their business. So whether it's waterproofing, concrete leveling, or maybe it's just foundation repair generally, let's get with USS, USSTN.com, 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com. I am saddened I did not get to the full-throated story regarding autism. I'm not going to get an opportunity to have you comment on it because we're simply out of time. We're running late, only a couple of minutes left. But a couple of stories involving RFK. Number one, the nation's top health agency, according to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is planning on taking a massive testing and research effort underway. They're going to undertake that effort to determine the cause of autism. According to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Kennedy, who is obviously a longtime critic of vaccinations and vaccines generally, he has suggested that it is time to figure out exactly the cause of an uptick, the significant uptick in autism. It is frankly difficult to find a storyline that is not slanted against Kennedy with regard to this autism tale. At the same time, autism obviously is going up in terms of the numbers. It is described or defined as a developmental disability caused by differences within the brain. And there are wide variances on the quote-unquote spectrum as to what is and is not autism. But it can include delays in language and learning, social, emotional skills. Consensus is that childhood vaccines do not cause autism. However, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. believes that we have not done enough research as to regarding whether or not that is so. Kennedy's offered no details on exactly what types of study that this will be or what researchers will be involved, but does say that he believes that we can get some answers by September. I think that's a rather ambitious timeline, but it remains to be seen. I'll just say this. I don't pretend to know what I don't know. And I don't know enough about autism to speak definitively about it. But I do know this. In my time, doing my job here, when I was in Birmingham, Alabama, I worked for about 10 years in morning radio. I started at 6 a.m. and worked until 10. And so I would typically drive in around 4 o'clock in the morning. And if you're driving in around 4 o'clock in the morning, you hear, and I'm listening to the radio station that I work for, Talk 99.5 down there in Birmingham, and you hear public service announcements. Typically, if you hear public service announcements on our radio station, it's going to be in the overnight hours. We try to provide them, but you provide them during non-peak hours. All of that to say, I listened in real time as the public service announcements went from 1 in every 190 children are autistic. And then a year later, it was 1 in every 88 children are autistic. I'm like, well, and then after that, I think it got down to like 1 in every 60. It's like, wait a minute. In 2 years, we went from 1 in 190 to 1 in 60? Well, how the hell is that possible? You've got to explain that to me. You're either changing the dynamics by which you judge whether someone is autistic or not, or we've had an extreme uptick in number of cases of autism. It's one or the other. So I applaud a study, particularly a skeptical study. I think that'll go well. Speaking of RFK, RFK Jr. suggested that Americans who eat donuts should be provided free health care. Did you see that? That's nice.
What's he got against a good donut? Come on.
Well, he just says that Americans who eat donuts, guzzle soda, his word, guzzle, I love the word guzzle, eat donuts, guzzle soda, or smoke should not be provided with free health care. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said during a CBS interview, if you're smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, why should you expect society to pay when you get sick? I think it's a legit question. He went on to say that donut and soda lovers can't expect society to care for them either. Possible that they're going to get very sick. He's repeatedly, by the way, called soda poison. Well, I don't know that soda's poison. Soda is liquid candy, but I don't know that I would call it poison. Hey, Chris Webber.
Yes.
Have a great weekend.
You do the same.
I'm going to try my best. I hope each and every one of you have a great weekend as well. We'll be back on Monday. Be safe, be sound. Should be an absolutely gorgeous weekend. Don't think about the news once, and we'll catch you up starting at 3 o'clock. Well, really, it starts with Dan Mandis and Nashville's Morning News early on, and then before you know it, we'll be back. Until then, have a great weekend, friends. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.